Good evening. Call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum here present of our commissioners. So first item on the agenda is citizen comments. I'll open the floor for any citizens wishing to make comments. This will be your opportunity to address the Board of Commissioners. Okay, seeing no one for citizen comments, we'll close citizen comments. I'll hand the floor to Ms. Heyer and Mr. Martin to take us from here. Item number 3.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thanks, staff, for being here this evening. Appreciate everybody taking time for your busy schedules late into the day here to sit down and hear the presentations. And for that, I'll turn over to Ms. Dana.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so tonight I just kind of want to go over sort of the 10,000-foot view of the budget. I have a little PowerPoint presentation, and then I have just some departments that are going to present their budgets to you, just the highlights of them. And then if you have any questions, ask away. So we'll start with the PowerPoint. So based on the revenue and expenditure estimates, we started the year with a fund balance of $46 million. It looks like we're going to pull that down about $20 million with the capital items that were purchased. So we're going to start with an estimated $26,651,878. I have projected revenues of $58,225,266, and you can see that the majority of that comes from local taxes. There's about 73%. The second largest is the intergovernmental, which is the state shared taxes. That comes in at 16%. And then you have fines and forfeitures at 2%, and permits and fees at 9% of the budget. And the other grants and miscellaneous are just minuscule. Some revenue highlights that are in this budget. I do have a property tax in this budget that is at 68 cents, which would bring in $14.3 million. That is obviously a tax increase. And then we have state shared revenues of $6.3 million, and that's $142.94 per capita. I have sales tax estimated at $24.3 million. We have some businesses that are doing very well, so I was able to increase that projection. We've got our hotel motel tax estimated at about $1.3 million. And then we have some small grants for police. Oops. Our general fund expenditures are at $79,577,619. Public safety, which is fire and police, take up the almost half of that at $35 million. Then we have general government, which is the executive, the IT, that's at 9.2. Our Parks and Rec is at 2.3, Public Works is at 4.3, and then Community Development is at 2.1. Another large chunk is the transfers to other funds. That includes transfers to the Debt Service Fund, the Capital Projects Fund, and the State Street Aid Fund, and those total $20.8 million. I have a breakdown of what categories our expenditures come from. So the first column is personnel. Obviously, it's our people that are the biggest asset to the city, and that's $33.2 million. The next is the transfers, which is to Capital Projects Fund, which it comes in at 16.4. The operating expenditures are $11 million. We have new capital purchases, which is our cars, our equipment, coming in at 8.9. Then the debt service is $3.6 million, and our transfers to State Street Aid is $700,000. Some expenditure highlights in payroll. There is no COLA in this payroll. There is a 2% merit, which totaled $460,000. There are 3 positions that have been unfunded in the budget. There are 5 new positions in the police department in this budget. There's an advanced dispatcher, 3 officers, and a mental health specialist, and that totals $584,000. The capital items, we have $3.3 million in vehicles and equipment. The new aerial truck is budgeted at 2.4. That is included in that $3.3 million. It's not sure if we're going to pay that next year. but it needs to be reserved because it is an obligation to the city. So that's in the budget, but the timing of that is unclear at this point. We have $933,000 in machinery and equipment. We have $630,000 in communication equipment. We have $258,000 in computer equipment and software. We have some other improvements, which is building improvements. That's $1.6 million. And then we have the $2 million economic development. That is Costco's payment. And that we could potentially delay that because this is the final payment for Costco. However, I'm hesitant to take it out of the budget because it is an obligation. So we will have to pay it at some point. So let's see where we land. We start out with 26.6 million. We have revenues of 58.2, expenditures of 74.1, and that leaves us with an ending fund balance of 10.7. The next couple of pages I got from Matt. This just gives you an idea of the capital improvement plan for the next 10 years. It shows, the first slide shows you the city funding only. So this is what we would be required to pay. The blue is the engineering cost. The green is the right-of-way and utilities. And then the yellow is the construction phase of those projects. So these you'll mainly see in the capital projects fund. The next slide is the total cost of the project, including grant funding. So the first slide, the total for those 10 years is 161 million, but the grant, with the grants, it's 318 million. The other city funds, this is just kind of a summary of those funds to show you that all of the fund balances are positive at the end of the year, kind of where we're starting, what the revenues are, the expenditures. I won't go through each one, but just to show you that we do have fund balances at the end of the year on those funds. The sewer fund, I'm projecting operating revenues of 11 million, expenditures of 11 million, which should give us an operating income of 79,000. That has to be a positive number. I can't go negative on that one. Non-operating revenues are coming in at 1 million. Capital contributions, about 2.3 million. We have a change in net position of 3.3, and the capital expenses are 29 million, and that includes the equalization basin, which is about 18 million of that. I do have a 3% rate increase in the budget for that, which is going to increase the minimum bill about 50 cents. And I will say that we got hammered this year because of the rain that we had. It's actually the rainiest year we've had in 25 years. So I've had 4 Metro bills that exceed $400,000. I usually have 1. So it'll be an interesting year this year. I'm not sure that we're going to actually make a profit, but we'll see. We just got hammered. And that's the 10,000-foot overview of it. The next thing I'll have is just the departments come up and give their just highlights from their budgets. I have, is Lynn here?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Lynn is not on the agenda, but he wanted to provide you with some information. So I told him I would put him first.
Are we in the evening yet? Is it evening time? Let me kill myself before I get up there. Well, yeah, thank you for your time, and I know I was unscheduled, but in a moment, I would just like to read a letter if I could. Before I do have some information I'd like to pass out to you, if that's okay. I believe we've got, slide them over there, that'll be fine. Excuse me. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here and again allowing me to speak. I'll try to be as brief as possible, as I know there is a lot on the agenda here. The reason I'm here this evening is I know there's been a potential proposal for the elimination of the safety coordinator position. And essentially, I would just like to read a letter that I've drafted, and we'll go from there if that's okay. All right, thank you very much. Dear members of the board, I'm here this evening with a plea to each of you to not eliminate the position of safety coordinator from the city's budget. I would be remiss if I didn't express serious concerns regarding the potential elimination of the safety coordinator role. One of those would be increased insurance premiums. Without a dedicated focus on risk mitigation, the city could face rising liability and workers' compensation claims, potentially resulting in higher insurance premiums. And I think 2 years ago, we did have an increase in our premiums, and in order to offset that, we did increase our deductible. So that is always a risk that we face, and as we grow, and the more accidents and injuries that we could incur. Second, there would be regulatory noncompliance. Failure to conduct OSHA required safety training could expose the city to significant fines and penalties. Third would be public safety risks. The lack of a safety coordinator increases liability risk in public areas such as sidewalks, parks, playgrounds, and city buildings, potentially endangering the general public. The next would be negative impact on employee morale. Most importantly, removing this position could send a discouraging message to city employees, implying that their safety and well-being are not a priority. And I'm sure you will all agree that the city places immense value on the safety training provided to our first responders and is committed to ensuring their well-being throughout continued training and education that is required or needed. I, as well as our safety coordinator, are steadfast in our belief that all employees not only need but deserve the same level of commitment from the city to protect their safety and well-being as well. For a public entity the size of the city of Mount Juliet, the safety coordinator position is a necessity, not a luxury. This perspective is echoed by our workers' compensation broker, Laura Jungmichael, in a letter I provided, a letter from Michelle Young, the president of the Tennessee Public Risk Management Association, and is also supported by public entity partners, our liability insurance provider. Eliminating this position would have far-reaching consequences beyond budgetary considerations. Without a dedicated safety coordinator focused on risk management, both employee safety and public well-being could be negatively impacted. Changing the safety culture of any organization is a gradual process that demands substantial time, effort, and resources. Meaningful, lasting change hinges on persistence, dedication, employee buy-in, and strong management support. Without these essential elements, resistance to change is likely, and true progress becomes difficult to achieve. A shift in mindset is also crucial, one where safety is recognized as a shared responsibility that impacts everyone. When all employees take ownership of safety, it fosters a proactive culture that not only prevents accidents and protects lives, but also empowers individuals to support one another in identifying and mitigating risks. From day one, the safety coordinator has shown initiative and a proactive commitment to enhancing employee safety and well-being. He has reestablished monthly safety committee meetings, collaborated with management to create and update departmental safety protocols, identified workplace hazards, implement risk-reducing controls, and conducted both compliance-focused and protocol-specific training. Additionally, he has worked closely with Bob Lynch, our loss control consultant from Public Entity Partners, and Todd Serbeck, a senior risk and management specialist with Key Risk, to develop safety protocols, identify areas of risk, and implement effective mitigation strategies. He has also partnered with InSafe, a local technology and safety consultant, to develop a customized online safety hub tailored to the city's specific needs. This safety hub will serve as the foundation for the city's safety program. It will streamline and centralize all safety program-related activities, improve communication, organization, efficiency, and enhance visibility into preventative actions taken to mitigate recurrence of future injuries and accidents or incidents. In summary, I'm extremely proud of our safety coordinator. His attitude, passion, and attention to detail have been exceptional. When he encounters a problem he doesn't know the answer to, he proactively seeks those answers using every resource available, whether it's through conversations with department head, researching online, or enrolling in safety certification courses that directly benefit the city. Perhaps the strongest endorsement comes from Bob Lynch of Public Entity Partners, who stated, "Of the cities I work with, your safety coordinator's attention to detail surpasses other safety coordinators. He has made me a better consultant because of his willingness to dig into situations and ask the questions necessary to find the answer. He asks questions that no one else has thought to ask, which has made me dig deeper. This is a testament to his dedication and the lasting impact he has made and will continue to make on our city and its culture of safety if allowed to continue, which I sincerely hope he will be." And lastly, I'll wrap up with a quote that's always stuck with me that I wholeheartedly agree with, is that our employees are our biggest asset, but without protection, they're our biggest liability. Thank you.
Can I get a copy?
Thank
of that,
you.
Mayor?
It's in your folder.
Or is it just of that letter?
Yes.
I didn't see that, okay. I didn't see it. I didn't see it in there. I didn't see it.
I want a copy of that letter.
Which one?
The one you just read off?
Oh, this one, I'll give you a copy of that. I'll give it to you as quick as I can.
Thank you,
Before
sir.
the evening goes.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I had everything else but that.
Thank you, Lynn.
So yes.
When was this position created?
It was, it started in December of 2023.
So what did we do before that?
He was with Amazon.
No, I mean, what did the city do prior to that?
I apologize.
What did the city do prior to the creation of this job?
We did not have a safety coordinator. We've never had a safety coordinator with the city.
So he started in June or December?
December of 2023.
Okay.
So it was passed and added to the budget essentially 2 years ago to the day almost. And then we actually brought him on in December of 2023. Yes, sir.
Do we have any issues prior to him joining?
I would say there were certainly issues, yes. And one of the first things that I did as a new HR director when I came on board was meet with each department. And the consensus was that we did need a safety coordinator.
Was that because we were having issues or because it was just proactive?
Well, number one, being proactive, but you're always going to have issues. But I believe it's a situation where as a department head, you're busy managing your people. They simply did not have the time and really the expertise needed to create safety protocols, conduct training, and remain in OSHA compliance, things of that nature. So.
Okay. Kenny, you were going to say something?
Yes, sir. We didn't have a safety coordinator. We had what was referred to as a risk manager, and Miss Janet, who is in the HR unit. So we've had risk management for some time. That's why I've included it in the reports for many years now where it said HR and risk management. I still say that to this day. So not saying there's definitely not value to the position, but I would never do anything to jeopardize the safety of the employees. I have every confidence in the world that the department heads and work in conjunction that we could overcome any concerns if we were to have to do that. These are, again, just recommendations, but we've had a risk manager for years. It was just classified differently and as an addition to.
So what was the reasoning for eliminating the position?
It's just a recommendation for that.
I mean, you had to have a reason.
Yeah, it's for budget constraints.
Okay.
Vice Mayor.
Just to kind of also piggyback off that, Commissioner, being proactive is great. The other side of this, though, I mean, even with my company with 140,000 employees, sometimes safety, when we represent our clients, safety is always the first thing that's to be talked about to be removed, because you don't deal with safety until OSHA shows up to your site, or TOSHA, or whoever that is. You had actually brought up a couple of things back when you start, really getting involved with some of the building side of things. You're asking about, whether or not if we're doing the exact same amount of work when it comes down to the contractors, right? So if we're expecting contractors to go follow the same codes, rules, regulations, are we doing that in-house? And obviously with my background, there's things that me and Kenny talked about, like just simple things, that our fire marshals could be doing, or our fire inspectors could be doing, looking at the emergency egress, looking at, the NFPA requirements and ASHRAE, and then the International Mechanical Code, the NEC code. As our city gets bigger, there's a lot of things that when it comes into our insurance, we don't really, we are being reactive versus proactive. Simple, things as like an arc flash study. The state of Tennessee utilizes InSafe as one of their third-party vendors, also their subject matter experts. So when I talked to Kenny and Lynn about this role, and it was more about making sure that we as a city look at, help mitigating the risk, when it comes into thing buildings, bringing on a brand new firehouse, bringing on a second firehouse, and now a new police station. There's a lot of risk in there because we're bringing in higher voltages. We're taking a church that was, let's just say, light commercial. Now we're bringing in a building to a commercial building where they're actually bringing in higher voltages, more fire life safety, sprinkler systems, generators, and so forth. So again, as the city gets bigger, there's, then adds more risk. And yes, every department, when I talk to the police, I talk to the fire, I talk to the, the parks board and all that, they all have their own staff groups that are all, let's just say, safety added to their, to their titles. Well, this individual is more somebody as a subject matter expert that can be able to at least get you the answer. They may not have all the answers, but they will be able to get you the right answer. So that way we stay in compliance when it comes to certain things. So if that helps you out, just, that's why, again, I think the value when I talk to Brody, is important. And I do understand our city manager having to look at every opportunity to cut cost. And believe me, I sat in meetings the same time with our clients when it comes down to safety is always the first thing to be cut until OSHA shows up and we start getting hit with fines. And then of course our clients then tend to change their attitude when it comes to safety. They're like, hey, now we need to be more proactive, and now we need to just start banning things. So that's why, I think safety is, one of these things that we should be considering as a board up here, whether if we have safety committee or if we have an individual that's the SME, that's just something that can be considered. So just want to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Commissioner Giles.
Yeah, just real quick, Lynn, did you say that our workers' comp went down because of that position that was put in?
There have been fewer claims, and I actually have the data to back that up, which I can send to you as well.
But I thought you stated that our workers' comp premium would go down because we had a designated safety director.
Well, that is a critical component of that. If our claims go up and
Yeah, workers' comp is regulated, but I mean, normally it's determined by your claim history.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, do we get a discount for that person to be on there? And if we do, I'd like to know, and I can find out whoever covers our insurance, whoever takes care of it,
Right.
What kind of discount are we getting?
I do.
I've
I
not
can
heard of
certainly
that, but I don't deal with municipalities either.
Right.
So I don't know. It'd be
Right.
just interesting.
I
Thank
can
you.
certainly find that information out. I believe that is correct, though. I will. I'll make sure I get that information to you.
Savings offset.
Certainly.
So
I'll certainly.
Yeah, Vice Mayor.
Lynn, if you don't mind, it's the TRIR, the lost time incident reporting. That is where you're going to be able to look that up, and I'll text it to you so you don't forget either. But every time there's an incident, Scott, I'm sorry, Commissioner, there's an incident reporting that they have to fill out along with a hazardous assessment and a 5Y typically. That needs to be filled out by a competent person. And I know that could be anybody out here, but at the same time, when we start looking at the insurance claims and so forth, that also helps out with your reporting, which helps out with the deductibles. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yes, Commissioner.
That's all right. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a questionnaire that's asked when on renewal, and a safety director to support what's going on can be someone else. The credentials for that safety director, that may be determined on the rates. I'm not for sure, but a lot of times they just ask if someone's responsible for safety, and so I don't know what's on the back of his title and et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not for or against this position. I'm just asking why. You're going to hear me ask why a lot during this workshop. So I just need to understand. We didn't have it before. We added it, and now we're taking it away. So I'm just trying to understand I understand the budget, but we've got 200 plus employees, and that's one of 3 that you selected. So I was just trying to understand the reason behind that.
Yeah, City Manager.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And like I said, I don't take any satisfaction in any of this. All these people are wonderful people. You know, as I mentioned in my email to everybody, they're value added. We're just faced with some tough decisions from a city standpoint with the budget deficit to give the commission some options for some places we could save and make some adjustments. Even though most city managers would not like to be in that position. It's a very unfortunate position to be in, and I don't take it lightly. And I appreciate the folks wanting to speak up for our fellow employees and for their departments. I appreciate that and respect it. It's just these were relatively new positions added in recent years, so we would divert back to doing what we were doing before, and even though that wouldn't be necessarily as ideal, it's basically a way of saying if that's what we have to do, then we would adjust. And if I had to do things individually myself to make sure employees were safe, then that's what we're going to do. That's basically, I hope that explains it a little bit, but I don't take any satisfaction at all in any of this. Thank you.
I do have a lot of data, I suppose, unfortunately not in my fingertips, but I'll make sure you get the information that you're looking for. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your time.
On the agenda, I show Parks Department budget, Mr. Rocky Lee. Pages 57, 61.
How you doing, guys? Y'all doing all right? Yes, sir. Scott, I'm with you, baby. I'm asking why. That's my question right now. But I just want to open up. Thank y'all for having us out today. This has been very devastating too, what we've seen, the projections. And I'm not throwing no blame nowhere. I know Mr. Martin has got a job to do. He's got projections to do, and he's got to cut costs. He's got to do it. I understand that. But my problem is, why are we taking out a deputy department head? Well, we're not pulling a guy out of a mower that can just be reseated by anybody. We're looking at a deputy. And, you know, this is the most highest ranking. I've been here 25 years, guys. Most highest ranking female in the Parks Department. Now, she sits there 1 year, just a little over a year, and we're going to yank her out. This lady, I'm going to tell you something. I mean, I got to tell you, it's 25 years of blood, sweat, and tears in the park, giving my heart to this park. And I can't hold a candle to this girl. She outworks any man I've ever been around. And I'm not just saying this would be devastating to parks if you took anybody. In November, I had 5 admins that were handling. We were just keeping our head above water at 5. 2 of them gone away. I'm down to 3 admins. And if y'all been at parks lately, if you've seen what we do, if you see the events, the programs we have, if you see all the stuff we do, you cannot there is no way in the world you could even consider taking her away. She's got over a year's worth of learning. And you can't just take 10 people from Public Works and hand them over here. They're not going to get the job done. I'm just telling you, I'm pleading with you. You are crippling the Parks Department. 25 years I put into it. You might as well just pull the plug on it and just let it sink, because that's what's going to happen. We were just this week trying to figure out how we were going to stay open. And I know a lot of you don't know is we're open 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and 6 hours on Sunday. We got so much stuff going on, and we got people with surgery. And I mean, the other day we were talking about the aquatic center. We were asking, are we just doing bare minimum? What for the last 2 years we've been at parks bare minimum. If I got somebody takes a vacation, I have nobody roll in there. We can't stay open right now with what we got, and if we pull her away or Jennifer Deaton, we can't do it. So what I've got an offer for you guys. If we're going to do it, if this is about budget, and this is about money, and this is how much I love my department, what we do is we take and we make her the manager over the administrative side. That's Charlie Daniels and my parks. We're so big now, we're 2 entities anyway. And we make Ross Hudson the manager of the right-of-ways, the mowing, the maintenance, all the stuff these guys do. I stepped down. I retire at the end of this year. I transition these people in. That's a director's pay you can take off. It's going to hit you around $200,000 with benefits and all. That's double what you're going to get out of her. That's the only way we'll make it, and they can make it, is if you do that. But I'm telling you guys, you can't even consider taking this lady away. And again, I'm not pointing fingers at nobody or nothing. I'm just telling you, and this is one thing that bothers me too. I'm not feeling the trust. The trust is not there from you guys, and I feel that, and I know that. We're going to be blunt here. And if you don't have trust in me, please let me go, because I put 25 years in, and by God, I guarantee you nobody's worked harder and cared more for their department than I have. I mean, like Kenny does. You see him on weekends not clocking in. I'm there on weekends not clocked in. This woman works. I don't know if she ever sleeps, because she's always sitting something and she's working. I mean, you cannot put somebody that gifted, that talented, that much, and puts that much effort to it, and just simply cut them away and say, well, it's a budget shortfall. That's not her fault. It's a budget shortfall. If everybody worked like she did, we'd never have a budget shortfall. But I'm just saying, it's just aggravating when you put it and you finally get something together. Our parks, if you notice, we're award-winning parks. For like 10 years in a row, we've been award-winning parks, and we're proud of that. But I'm ready to step aside. If I have no support here and no trust, and everybody thinks they know how to run a park better than I do, please do it. But I'm just telling you, don't do it at her expense. Do it at mine. I'm responsible for this department. If you pull her away, this department is going to fall apart. And we've tried other people. We have. But like I said, since November, we've lost 2 administrators. I'm down to 3. You take her away, it's me, and it ain't even an administrator. It's my assistant. That's all we'll have running parks. So what I'm telling you, what I asked you to do, please consider, let me just transition out. I'll have them ready to take over parks. At the end of the year, I'll step down. You don't have to rehire this position. Everybody be happy. And I'll be glad if we do it like that. I will be glad to come back at any time, sit on committees with them. I'll be there to consult. Anything they need, I'll be glad to work with them hand in hand. Retired. I won't charge nothing, but that's how much I care about my department and my parks department and this city. I love this job. I used to just enjoy coming to work. I don't enjoy coming to work no more. It's no fun no more. I got too many people that know more than I do. So,
Director, I appreciate the passion on this. Have you talked with Mr. Martin about this plan? Is this?
Yeah.
Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir. We actually spoke about it today. And earlier this morning, bless his heart, we spoke a lot lately. It seems like
we've been talking
probably more in quite some time, and he did. And so he made that mention to me this morning. I felt like it'd be more appropriate for him to make it to the commission than it would be myself. And we did, yes, sir, Mayor, to answer that question this morning.
I mean, I'm telling you guys, you'll find nobody more committed. This woman, we were asked to work Easter Sunday. She stepped in there with me at work, 6 hours, Easter Sunday. We toted over 200 bags of trash. And it was hot and it was filthy, but we did it so the Egyptians could have their holiday. We gave up ours for them. And she was right there, never said a word. She did it on 4th of July. She learned a new meaning, 4th of July. But she was there, never. I'm just telling you, guys, you cannot let, when you find rock stars like that, and that's my job as her supervisor, is to give her a voice. And we're not even talking about my 4 Mo guys for 3 years. And it's another reason I stepped down. I told them, I made them a promise. For 3 years in a row, I've been promising these guys, everybody thinks they're landscapers. These guys are not landscapers. They're the reason when you drive into Mount Juliet, what you see is how manicured we are. That's the first thing you see. That's how you know you're Mount Juliet. I see 4 guys on mowers, weed eating, and the grass keeps growing, guys. It don't stop. They don't get to go air conditioned with 100 degrees. They don't get out of the rain unless it's lightning. These guys work from March to November, and they are the lowest paid in the city. But not only do they bring you that, in the fall, they're cutting trees, they're building buildings, they're tearing down, they're painting. Every department here calls on these guys in the fall and stuff to build, do concrete, weld. We do almost everything in-house. That's another thing nobody takes into consideration. Here lately, we've been digging up concrete, digging up asphalt, and fixing plumbing. We don't call outside sources. We do that in parks. And we're proud of that. I've always been proud of that. But I feel like I failed y'all. I feel like I failed Kenny. And for this to happen, for her to be leaving, I'm ready to step down. And we'll get new blood, whatever y'all need to make this work. But please don't tear apart my department. I've been in this too long. And the budget don't even matter to me. I mean, I'll take what I get, and we'll do like we've always done. And by God, we'll give you the best we can give you for the penny we got. And when we run out, we run out. But for the 3rd year in a row, we're coming back with over $600,000 back to the general fund. And we've done it 3 years in a row. We come in every year under last year's budget. So that's my why. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Lee? Vice Mayor?
Oh, okay. First of all, thank you, Rocky. And thank you for obviously staying under budget. That's great. $600,000. That's awesome. I was actually reaching out to a couple other departments to see if we had any trucks that are coming in, because I see that you were asking for this, this small, Ranger truck.
Mhm.
So I was talking to the police, see if there was any opportunity, if they had any trucks that were, like coming out. So hopefully Chief Mullins, if he has anything coming out, I know that's going to be a topic for him probably tomorrow. So he'll follow up with me on that. I haven't asked Chief folks about that either, if they have a truck, but I know that was just an option there. So I guess my question is if we can get a truck that's in-house, is that an option, or does it have to be a small truck? Is there any reason why we're looking at a small truck, or just
Anything.
cost?
We don't really care. I mean, and again, that comes out of the capital improvements. It's not affecting general fund anyway.
Yeah.
But that comes out of a hotel motel.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can save her, you can have a truck.
Okay.
I mean, anyway.
Well, the other side here, when you were talking about changing positions over to facility maintenance guys, listen, I mean, I agree with you. Those guys they are jack of all trades over there.
Yes.
I know me and you talked about this a while back, and I'm going to blame myself, not you, because I didn't ask for it. But I know me and you've talked about this.
Yes.
To show value, we got to show cost savings, right? So when our guys do these things starting this year, let's just say starting tomorrow, can we be able to help capture that? So this way in the future, the commission can be able to say, hey, again, when they're sitting down with these guys and they're repairing the mowers, they're welding, they're doing the mechanical, they're doing the electrical, they're doing the plumbing. Help us capture that. So this way we can show
Yeah.
value when the time comes and we're having these discussions. Because again, we got to be able to tell the story, but just like Commissioner Giles was asking, was data. So for us, starting tomorrow, any type of opportunity outside of the normal job, let's tell the story, right? That's what we got to do, because we got to show value.
And I understand that. But in here, it's just, we don't want to take pictures of stuff. We're not going to brag. That's
Well,
doing
no,
the
not
job.
pictures. I'm just saying, hey, instead
Yeah.
of calling out a
We're just
service,
used to doing that. So
I know.
we'll capture it for you.
I know. Well, I'm just looking at, like if a plumber's going to charge us 65 or $75 an hour, because we already know, you can just say, hey, we did it in the house for 3 hours. That's, that's $185, $190, right? So
Right.
we times that by, over the 365 days a year. I know it sounds kind of petty, but all these guys are doing all these jobs when time allows them to. That adds up to tens of thousands of dollars, which then helps justify what we're trying to accomplish here, which is doing things in-house,
I appreciate
changing their job title from landscaping to maintenance.
Yeah.
And that tells a better
it.
story.
Yes.
So we already talked about the truck. We're good there. And then the Christmas area down there, because I see there was some additional
Yes, sir.
cost down there. Was that already spent for last year's budget, or was that for this year's budget?
It's an addition of, what's the addition?
It's the new capital request for Charlie Daniels Park, 4-foot, a tree extension.
It's an extra fee. I think it was gonna be 7,000 to bring it back, but to get the extra 4 feet is around $4,000, 5,000 extra.
Okay.
Then we store, and that's them putting it up, taking it down, and they do all maintenance. If something goes out, they've got somebody there within hours to turn it back on.
Okay. So this is the turnkey.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It's a
gotcha.
turnkey.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was trying to figure out, because I know me and you talked about it.
Yeah.
Went from 4,000 to 12, and I didn't know
Right.
if there was an additional cost there.
And that will put us over 30 feet with the ornament on top.
Okay. And then the Hamilton Denson Park there, it shows 10,000, and then the City Greenway 10,000. Did we hit those numbers last year, or is this
I
just a
don't think
budgetary
we-
line item?
I don't think we really got to them, but what we run into, like Hamilton Denson, if an air conditioning unit goes out, or if we have something blow up on us, like the roof, we get roof damage, or what killed us last year on the Greenway was during a storm, one of the straight line winds come in and took a hackberry, snapped it. We couldn't get to it. We had to call in an arborist, and it cost the whole budget. It hit us for like $6,000 just to take that one tree out. So we were without. So we bumped it because we have so many trees up and down those greenways. If we can't, we cut most of them, but if it gets to a safety elevation where we don't have the equipment and you bring an arborist out, one tree is a couple $1,000s and it'll bust your budget.
It's a new tree every week.
Yeah. And then I got two more real quick, if that's okay. So if we go back up on that same page 9, we were looking at the new capital request for Charlie Daniels Park, 30,000. Can you go into some detail on that? Just because I know that was discussed along with that front entrance
Charlie
sign.
Daniels Park. Oh,
Yeah,
that's the
30,000 and the 10,000.
We're wanting to roll over 30. We had 30,000 last year in the budget for
Mhm.
teen center
Okay.
that we're making meeting room A in July.
Yep.
1st of August, it'll become a teen center. We've already bought a lot of equipment, but because of shortfall in having staff, we've not been able to come to fruition. But this year, hoping August 1st, we're going to be able to pull it in and redo it. And we're just trying to roll that 30,000 over, get the teen center going this year.
Okay. And is the parking lot going to be done by then?
The park, now this is the teen center on the community.
Oh, on the
center.
Charlie Daniels side. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know when that parking lot's gonna be ready. That's an activity center.
Yeah.
I don't have nobody stand up there right now. Joe.
I know. That's what I was going to be asking for, because again, if we open this up, we got to have a
Right.
body in the seat for safety.
There's no way we can over 12 hours. We could send one of our clerks up and go Tuesday through Saturday, 8 to 5 would be best we could do right now. And somebody gets sick, we have to close it. So that's where we're at right now. But I'm proud of my staff. They're knocking it out. And one thing we want to consider, I know safety's big, guys, and we don't doubt that a bit, but quality of life is just as big. And in Mount Juliet, that's one of the biggest things going out here with the greenways, with our parks. I mean, we got more parks than anybody. We got more stuff for you to do. And everybody's always bragging on the quality of life here. And all I'm asking you to do, and let's just give me the resources to continue the quality of life that we've been getting.
Okay. Thank you. One last thing. And I'm just going back to my own kids, because they do whatever they can to volunteer. I think Brianna just reached
Yeah.
out to you again. So, when we get ourselves into a situation like that, and I know this may not be tonight for the budget, so I apologize, but is there an opportunity that, like for staff to be looking at maybe, how we do with our officers, our volunteer officers, or an opportunity where we have let's say a dark post where we could be able to have somebody that's been cross-trained? Is that something we have we ever considered that? I mean, our city is all about volunteering, and
the problem is we have to run a schedule 2 weeks out.
Okay,
And a volunteer may show, may not show, and it may have to close or be there.
I got you.
And, we've got to have somebody that's there for schedule.
I understand. Just thought I'd ask
No
because,
problem.
okay, that's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Hefner?
Rocky, you said $600,000, which you sent back,
Yes, sir.
and that's 3 years in a row.
I think it's the third year.
What was the total budget? What
It's around
percentage?
2.3.
2.3.
It
So
was around 3 in 2023. 3 million is around 2 something.
so was that 25%? 28, something like that?
We was at 3.6 in 2023, 24, 25 was at 2.9. This year we're coming in at
20%.
2.3.
So roughly 25%
Yes, sir.
savings.
Mhm.
So, okay.
Yeah.
That's $1.8 million.
And we pride ourselves in that.
So what was that? Can you put a finger on?
Where the savings came from?
Mhm.
Yeah, it came from some of the stuff where we're looking at, where we put expenditures in case the air conditioner goes out. We get hit with a $10,000 bill there. But 90% of it was us doing in-house stuff, our plumbing, our own concrete, and just stuff like that, painting, and revenue off the activity center. We did all the demolition inside there. And we were set up to do it all and build it out, but we ran out of time. We had to start mowing. But yeah, a lot of this savings is from our in-house, what we do. And I'm telling you, man, we do almost everything. I hate calling somebody outsourcing something. I don't want to see a plumber. I don't want to see an electrician. I don't even want to see a roofer. If we can do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah. So my 2 cents, and this is more macro across the board. My concern is, and it's not your department, so this is generally speaking. Talking to Dana, I mean, we have underestimated revenues. We have overinflated expenses. We had a $1.7 million deficit last year that I voted against. And we ended up $3 million to the good. That's a $4.7 million swing in revenue. That's a big miss. That's a big miss, in my opinion. How do you miss numbers by that much? And we're having to make decisions based on conservative revenue numbers, projections, and potentially overinflated expenses. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. So I would like to see us go to a model where we're looking at last year's revenue, and that's what we set our budget at. So we're not guessing. We're not making assumptions. We're not making projections that we can miss, or overinflating, or having to propose a 400, 500% tax increase when it may not even be warranted. That's my macro level 2 cents. So if we're overinflating our operating budgets, maybe we need to take a little closer look at that and see, why are we doing this? Why are we adding 20, 30% when we know we're going to be giving money back to the general fund? Because I have to make decisions based on what's in front of me. So if we're underestimating revenues, we need to take a harder look at what we have done actual for the past 6 months and use that as a projection for the next 12 months. I'm of the opinion we don't do anything. We wait. Continuation of the budget. We don't spend anything. We don't eliminate anybody. We take a look at our numbers in 6 months and see where they're actually coming in at. I'm talking about revenue. Is that just such a radical idea?
I do project that out based on actual revenues, though. And I
You were
try to
off quite a bit
continually-
last year. You had a $1.7 million deficit, and you told the Tennessean we didn't have a deficit.
I never talk to anybody.
You were quoted in the Tennessean as
I
saying,
don't know how that happened because I don't talk to anybody.
so we had a $1.7 million deficit last year, and we ended up $3 million to the good.
We've
And why wasn't
spent
it? Why wasn't a
$20
tax?
million
Why
in-
wasn't a property tax
we
suggested
spent
last
20
year?
million in reserves last year. We reduced the reserves by $20 million last year. and
Why
we're
was there
gonna
no
do it
mention
again
of a
this year.
property tax last year? Were you told not to mention it?
It's not a good political move. in an election year.
Well, you're not running for office.
You're right, I'm not.
Are you protecting somebody? Wasn't me. I didn't ask for it.
Commissioner Giles.
So obviously I'm looking at the insurance. It went up 17% at Charlie Daniels, 17% at Monday, and I didn't figure the rest of them out. Is that a whole and you just broke it up by some means, some formula? Or did our insurance go up, period? I assume our insurance, whoever covers it sitting out there, I assume our insurance is billed on on our fiscal year instead of the physical year starting at January. Workers' comp is audited, so workers' comp went up, but I'm not questioning that because that's audited by the employees' salaries. But do we not have those figures when we do our budget every year? I've been gone for a while, as you well know. So why is the insurance going up? Is it because we added a building last year? Is it something about, I can't understand why regular insurance has gone up.
We don't get the insurance numbers until September, so it's an estimate at budget
Okay,
time.
that's the question. So we don't know how much it's going to go. Did it go up this past year? Is that why?
I think it did, but not as much as it was going to because we adjusted our deductibles. I asked them for like a history and what it would look like if our deductibles were at different levels. And so I set the deductibles a little higher because it was going to save us money.
Yeah, it can. Yeah. Well, anyway, there's just a question about the insurance. I'll ask y'all about that. Rocky, I know that was beyond, I was just wondering because I saw it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Mr. Lee, did you get a chance to see the email from Commissioner Mullally? She had a quick question. You did or you did not? I'm sorry. Let's see here. She's asking, is this okay to ask? I just want to make sure.
You talking about this highlight there?
Yeah. I didn't know if we got a chance to go through those. Because again, out of respect for her, since she couldn't be here tonight, the question is, Deputy Parks Director, if the position is eliminated, I'm concerned that we would not have enough staff to effectively run the department. That is the only leaves the director and the clerk. Basically, we have award-winning parks at Charlie Daniels, and I feel that this would jeopardize our parks operation. Our parks are a huge importance to the city, and we should not take a chance on letting them fall behind. So I just wanted to make sure, just out of respect for Jennifer, I know Commissioner, I know she would do that for me. So again, just wanted to just ask that question. So I guess it's not really a question, a statement, but just want to make sure, being out of respect for her.
Thank you.
So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything that needs to be added about the, I guess, Commissioner Hefner's thoughts on a continuing budget as is? I know that property tax has to be set at a certain time if that's being considered.
Yeah, the state does not like a continuation budget and they won't allow one for 6 months. You have to set a budget. The state law requires that you set the budget by June 30th.
But if you just adopted the same budget, there's no prohibitions against that, is there?
No, you could adopt the same.
You couldn't do a continuation resolution, but you could adopt the same budget. But that would definitely cause some issues, I would think, if nothing else, capital items, debt payments, bonds that are being proposed in this one. I don't know, we'd have to chew through that one.
Projections. I think we need to move more towards a budget that's based on actuals, or at least what was brought in terms of revenue from the prior year.
Yeah.
There are other municipalities around Middle Tennessee that do that.
No,
But I do that when I'm making these projections for revenues. I'm at especially the major ones, I'm pulling actual numbers and looking at a trend to see what was the increase over the past few years.
We missed
I
it
don't
last year.
want to overestimate revenues and underestimate expenditures. That's a bad situation to be in because we cannot spend more than we budget. We'd have to come back and appropriate more money if we do that. You're not allowed to spend more than you budget. So, and it's based on everybody's estimates of what they've got coming in, what they're working on. We don't know. We don't know the future. So they're trying to base it on what they expect. I base revenues on what I expect. I look at the trends. I look at the actual numbers, and I'm always updating them. So I start in January.
So what happened last year?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know
how-
what
that's
I don't
my-
know what you're looking at
that's
to
my
know where I
point.
missed.
That's my point.
But I
We
can't.
came in at a
but
$1.7
we
million
can't go on
deficit.
past numbers because you have to look ahead. Everybody looks ahead. There's cities that have already
I'm
projected.
talking about revenue.
I understand that, but there's cities that are already past their budget. Do you think that they
If
know
we have
exactly?
revenue of $47 million from last year,
Do
that's,
you know how many revenue items we have? There's 3 pages of lines of revenue items. I have to base it on something. So I base it on,
Well-
I'm looking at the trends. I'm looking at what did we bring in last year? Okay. Are we trending up? Are we trending down? Are we neutral? So I'm trying to also be conservative. So I don't want to overestimate and say, okay, I'm going to have, $60 million in revenue, and then I don't hit it. And then they've got expenditures, and we're already reducing this fund balance to $8 million, $10 million. I mean,
That's been going on for
we
years.
just don't have.
that's been going on for years. That didn't just happen.
Well,
last
how different is this year versus in years in the past?
I was aggressive with the revenue this year, and I'm
But-
probably gonna. It look projection wise. If you look at,
What's the trends like when we got up here? This year we're off this much. I mean, it never. I do the state of the city, and it comes in a lot. Surplus. I like saying surplus better than deficit, for the record, but it comes in that way. But to some degree, we're playing the hand that the state's dealt us. I mean, Wilson County used to do a continual operating budget, and it was August or September before they
That's
passed their
county.
count. Yeah, they.
that's a county.
Well, what I'm going with is they would wait for the actual numbers to come in, and we've always got some gap that we have to project that versus actual numbers. And I thought, well, it's an interesting approach to it. I mean, we never did that at the city. I don't know if we ever had that leeway to do it, but yes, something like the same thing too. And I'm not surprised that money comes back from the parks. I mean, if we don't give Rocky the money to cut his hackberry tree down, then when it falls, I mean, there's hackberry trees that are always going to fall. I don't necessarily want a budget amendment every time Rocky's got to cut up a hackberry tree. And probably the citizens don't want to wait to climb over the tree on the trail because we don't have money budgeted on it. So I don't know what the perfect answer is on any of this.
Well, I understand there's going to be unexpected expenses that come up, but in Rocky's example, sorry, using you, it's 25%.
Well, one thing.
Maybe 5% is,
But the 12 years, 14,
10%.
years, I've been department head, is one thing.
I think it's great, by the way, but
We're taught though at budget is make sure you don't come back for a budget amendment. We don't want to hear a budget amendment. So if I'm going to hit, and I know something's going to hit me 10,000, I'm probably going to put 12 to 13 in there because I'm not going to come back for a budget amendment at any old time. I know how bad that is. And I don't want to get scorned for a budget amendment. So that's one reason you'll see a little bit of flow, but not that much. But,
I mean, we can.
Vice Mayor.
So, Mr. Lee, the $600,000, if we were to go back with the original staff that you had, because obviously there's some savings there. You said it was 3.6, 2.9, 2.3. Was that $600,000 also in addition to the, not backfilling some of these roles? Is that where some of the savings is, or is this?
It's not out of personnel at all, I don't think. It's
So this is all operational
Yes, sir.
for $600,000? Okay. And how many parks have we, let me ask this a different way. The square footage of land, let's just say acreage, land, building size, you said last 3 years. So in 2022, you said our budget was 3.6 million. Is that the number that you gave? Okay.
That's because we brought Monday Park on, when we brought the pickleball on. Our capital improvements dictated a lot of that.
Mhm.
So when we brought on, I think we spent almost $2 million on bringing on pickleball tennis, doing that.
So our normal operation budget was 2.3.
Yeah,
roughly?
Yeah, about 2.2,
2.2?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was just because we added on additional,
just capital.
just capital. Okay, thank you. That helps out a little bit for the folks that are listening in as well tonight. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions over the parks budget? All right. Thank you, sir.
guys. Appreciate y'all.
Next up, I see information technology and GIS budget, pages 32, 33.
Good evening, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just going to go through some of the highlights, and then if you have questions, I think that you guys were provided with a sheet, but I don't know the highlight list. It's not there. But in our operating budget 200, we've got the largest project in there is the document scanning project. This is year 3 for that. And this year is the police department. We've already done to date the planning, the planning department, building department, HR department, and the finance department have already been completed. Police is a large one. They've got citations and stuff stored everywhere. So this will be scanning all of that. And then also adding flock cameras for greenways and greenway trailheads on the parks. So this would be the same flock cameras they're using for LPRs, but this would be in the greenway trailheads to be able to see license plates going into the parking lot areas, but also in some of the on the greenways themselves. So down the trails, they can drive the PTZs and see on the greenway itself. So then on 245, which is my telecom staff.
I want to ask right off the bat about the flock cameras.
Yes,
Is anybody putting them on the Greenway Trail? Is there any talks of facial recognition software being used? All right, I'd like that in writing
okay.
at some point.
Oh, so there's a proposal. 245 is a telephone and for the whole city, and it's there's a proposal to issue city issued cell phones to each patrol officer. Right now, there are certain sergeants above pretty much that have city issued cell phones, but there's a proposal to put an additional 56 phones out there for every patrol officer to have one, and that is for several reasons. But Mike just had a meeting with who was it, Mike?
Judicial Commissioner's Office.
Yeah, and they're requiring them to use them now to Mike.
The Judicial Commissioner's Office is going to a DocuSign process for all
I just found out about this today.
criminal warrant issuances to make their office more efficient.
So this is DocuSign, not Adobe Sign.
Yeah, I just found out about this earlier.
Well, at least it ain't Adobe.
And then there are in this budget additional circuits for the new police department, the new fire department, Station 3, and the required Motorola radio connections for Metro Nashville Radio. And there's also a Starlink backup internet for the dispatch center. And then in 533, which is our leasing, there's a replacement SAN and 3 hosts for our VMware environment. We're going to the current setup is 5 years old. We're going to take the old setup and just make it a COOP site on another site and just a backup and replace it with this new. There's an additional laptops for 15 new PD workstations inside the new police department, as well as 12 new positions across the city. There's also some new desktops for the new dispatch center, because at the new dispatch center, they're going to have a whole lot more monitors to look at. So you've got to have different PCBs for that. And then in our capital line items, there's various replacement networking equipment for Charlie Daniels football building, the South Tower, which is our radio tower on the south side, what we call CHA, the City Hall Annex warehouse, Station 1 and Station 2, and Salt Shed. We're getting some sort of networking replacement. Licensing for new VMware hosts, the replacement of the NVR at Station 1 and the police department, and mainly because the police department has so many cameras. The fiber project between the new CDP Activity Center and the Community Center, or the PD. I haven't quite decided how we're going to do that yet. And then replacement for UPS batteries on the south tower. They're about shot. And then additional security cameras over at Clemens Road, the City Hall Annex. So anyway, that's just kind of the highlights of what's in this budget. But if you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer.
She got a VMware in there.
Mhm.
What's your definition of perpetual?
Good question. But I think
Is that becoming something you're having to navigate around, or is it just
yeah.
okay?
There's one more thing I was supposed to. Oh, I know. On our capital budget as well, there on the budget as you see it, there is $30,000 inside of 949 for cameras at Clemens, and we actually did that out of this year's budget. So that $30,000 can come out of there.
Yeah.
I told Dana about that earlier. So yes, go ahead. Sorry, yes.
Mr. Hefter.
The document scanning project, you said it's been going on for 3 years. One, why is it taking so long?
We did that on purpose so that we could split the cost up over time. Because it was just we divided up by departments. We had a cost for it all at one time, and we just kind of divided up. So, okay, we're going to do a couple of departments each year to make it happen.
Did you ever do a cost analysis on the paper? Like how much is it costing us to store it in the buildings, the square foot, the
Yeah,
cost per
we
square
did it
foot?
early on. I mean, when we
and
first
then-
started this project 2 or 3 years ago.
And then when you have to go pull something and find it in a box, the labor cost to do all of that?
We did that a couple of 3 years ago. So
And it was still cheaper to just store paper?
no, it's not cheaper to store paper.
Okay.
But we were trying to break this cost because it's expensive, and just
Well, I guess my
that
point
part.
is
Yeah.
it's costing us now
Right.
by storing the paper. There's also a concern of there being a disaster. If these original records,
Yes.
yeah, so there's a contingency. Yeah,
So
there's no backups. I would say get it scanned.
forward.
Yeah, I'd say get it all done and not continue to spread it.
There's this year, and there's one more year left in the plan. So if we wanted to do it all, then we would need to add the cost for the additional year, which is public works.
Where's it all being stored?
Um,
The records, paper?
the paper records,
Don't tell me Iron Mountain.
no, all over the place. So I mean, in the different buildings, the departments. So some departments are in filing cabinets in their buildings, and some like PD's got storage
Yep.
room lockers.
Yeah, that which could be used for office space,
Yeah. Well,
right? Or for people.
no, I mean literal lockers, like what do you call it? Like the storage building places. They've got room to fill with those things. So,
We got storage buildings just for paper?
oh yeah, PD does. I know for sure.
I'd say that's a cost.
Yeah.
I would look at getting it done.
Move forward.
Yeah, I'd say move forward and get it
PD 's up
done.
right now. But I mean, the only thing left, the only department left is public works.
How is it, what system's being used to access it?
Oh, you asked me that question. I'll get it to you, but I have it. I mean, I just don't draw a blank right now,
Okay,
but I'll get it to you.
that's my background.
Yeah, I knew it was. So I knew to figure it out. But everybody who has it so far, the departments that have it are loving it. So
Yeah.
it works really well.
Okay,
It's just,
yeah, I'm just curious
I'll
what
let
we're
you know.
using. All right, appreciate it.
It's RJ Young doing it, but I just don't remember the name of the actual application.
Where's it being done? In
Where?
local business?
Not local. They ship it off. So it's Mississippi, I think, is where it went last time.
Really?
RJ Young, it's RJ Young is a contractor, but they take it. RJ Young used to do it themselves, but then they started sending it off.
So what's the cost if we have to have them pull something?
Of them? There's no, I mean, when they actually come to get it.
No, I mean, if it's off-site and we need to,
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I misunderstood your question. I thought you were saying where they send it off to be scanned is in
correct.
Mississippi.
Where's the physical?
That's in Mississippi, but where they're stored here locally is just local, in storage units. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, no, I was referring to where is the physical paper being pushed through the scanners?
Mississippi. But the last batch was, but
Really?
yeah, that's where they take it.
Interesting. There's no local offices?
RJ Young used to do it, but they got out of the business. And so now they just take the deal and they outsource it to the scanning company in Mississippi. So first 2 batches were done like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of them local.
Yeah.
I think there's one in Lebanon.
Really? I don't know. We've been stuck. We're with RJ Young at this point now. 'Cause we're gonna,
Was it a contract?
well, each year we sign another one to get that deal done. So, but we have to make sure we have licensing for that, whatever this software is. I forgot the name of.
Roger.
I hope not.
Right there, but
The file should be
I will,
standard
Yeah, it is.
TIFFs or,
Gosh, I'm going to get you the information, but
All right.
I know I'll let it get to you. But yeah, it's like I said, everyone's used it so far really well. It's quick to find things.
yeah, I'm curious
Yeah.
to see what we're using
I'll let
and
you-
how it's being
I think that's
used.
what you used to do. So.
If it's just a archive and retrieve, or if there's any kind of workflow that's built into
You can
it
do
for sign
workflows.
off.
I know you can do the workflows. So,
Yeah, because I know a lot of that is just, you can build rules-based
Yeah.
routing for sign offs and
we've done that for the
approvals.
records department here. So yeah.
Yeah.
And when I leave this room, I will remember the name of this thing. But right now,
You can let me know at the meeting.
yeah, I will.
All right. Anything else for IT? All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Emergency services, chief folks. Page 47, 49. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. A couple of highlights from us from this past year, things that we accomplished. And of course, thank you all for the allowance to do that through the budgeting process and allowing those things to take place. But we did complete our first ever in-house recruit fire training academy to train personnel to firefighting. These are personnel that we hired as ambulance personnel whenever we went into the ambulance business in 2023. And now we have them those personnel cross-trained, completed in an EMT class, and we are now in the middle of an advanced EMT class as we speak that are training personnel that we hired as firefighters originally that were hired on our department that had just EMR certification, emergency medical responder certification. We're bringing those personnel up to the level of advanced EMT. And so those two classes being one completed, one in process of the advanced EMT, we are going to do additional classes this fall of firefighter and advanced EMT. Once those two are completed, all of our personnel will be cross-trained as firefighter 2 and at least at the advanced EMT level of training, as well as our paramedics. And so that's a great accomplishment for us. We have also been sending some personnel through the budgeting process to critical care paramedic, which perform at even a higher level than paramedic, allowing us to do certain things in advanced practice that most agencies just do not do. We now have 8 critical care paramedics out of our paramedic cadre that are able to provide a really very high level of care. All three of our EMS lieutenants, who are basically our EMS supervisors on shift, they handle a lot. They are all 3 critical care paramedics at this time through the training that we've done this last year. And so continuing those training efforts is big in this year's budget as well, kind of continuing those same efforts with what we had budgeted in training. All of our command staff and all of our staff, I want to thank them for making those things happen the way that they did. So completed a lot of training there. We didn't really ask for a lot more in expenditures on capital type items or major things. We just kind of shifted focus. Last year, we were able to purchase a lot of advanced rescue equipment, especially for vehicle extrication, PFDs and equipment for our swiftwater efforts. We've sent a lot of people to swiftwater training and water rescue training, as well as acquired a boat through a grant through Firehouse Subs Foundation, around the $45,000 range, a new boat trailer combination to help us with that water capabilities, our water rescue capabilities in their city. And so that's been a major component for us and a major function that we've been able to do there as well. But we've kind of shifted this year to more technology-based solutions that we're looking at. And one of those is preemption. This past year, we started an initial pilot study on the intersection at Division Street and North Mount Juliet Road, to where we preempt that red light. All the equipment here at Station 3, as well as our battalion chief and our EMS lieutenant, have the preemption equipment in their vehicles that are tied to the Wi-Fi devices. And basically it signals that red light, no matter which direction they're coming from, to make the light green in the direction that they're flowing and red on all three other intersections. And it's greatly, just at this intersection alone, it's helped our response times tremendously, especially with the backlog of cars that come into that intersection. And this particular intersection is very difficult because it's got a concrete divider that divides the lanes of traffic right at the right where the railroad tracks are. And so it makes it very difficult for us to go in the oncoming lanes of traffic because of the distance from where that divider is to the intersection itself. So we're really want to make sure that we're doing that preemption. We want to carry that on out to other intersections within the city, especially through the Providence area, South Mount Juliet Road, Belinda Parkway, as well as Lebanon Road, North Mount Juliet Road. So the budgeting numbers that we've got in there for the preemption project are for about 11 intersections that we would initially do, that are the primary intersections that we would need this done on through the cities, and put the equipment on all of our emergency response vehicles, frontline emergency response vehicles.
How long will it take to get it installed?
It shouldn't take very long now that the initial intersection has been done and we know where that's at. It would just take a few weeks to install those on the trucks, and then they would go intersection by intersection and install that. But we've been working with Brandon and traffic engineering and with Matt, and we've been looking at those particular intersections that we would do, but we should be online with it within a couple of months after the budget passes and have it fully capable.
How much is that?
It's around, we have budgeted about $120,000. And like I said, we're hoping to do around 11 intersections with that money, as well as the equipment and
That
stuff.
right there will save lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other project that we've got in the budget is also going to help us because it enhances our ability to get out of the fire stations quicker, is station alerting software system. And Chief Chandler may mention that Chief Mullins when they come up, but we're actually looking at a new CAD solution. And this station alerting would fall right in with that CAD solution even earlier, but we're looking at kind of bundling that to save money on that solution. But the station alerting greatly and decreases the amount of time it takes the dispatcher to alert the stations that we have a call and alert the units that we have a call. And it would actually put us onto a unit-based approach as far as dispatching goes, which we are currently under a station-based approach for dispatching. And so we're looking at a lot of solutions there. The police department's been great to work with. This Chief Chandler, Tracy, our 911 director, our communications director or manager, really been working with us well on decreasing the amount of time it takes us to get calls dispatched and making that easier on call processors. And we're looking at every avenue there that we can really decrease times and save lives. And so those are the two main projects that we kind of shifted from more rescue type equipment into those two projects that we're kind of looking at for this future year in budget. And so those are the two main things that were there. We have also put kind of forward, and I don't know if Ms. Howard wants to mention it as far as how the changes are, but us in the police department, we're kind of looking at the pay ranges. And I want to thank you all 2 years ago in 2023's budget, 2023-2024 budget, you did some pay adjustments for the firefighters. And that's enabled us to have a really good, stable base of employees, which allows us to do a lot of things. Those budget or the pay classifications affected our department up through the level of from firefighter to battalion chief. None of the positions above the battalion chief, assistant chief, deputy chief, or chief were adjusted at that time, as well as none of the positions in the police department were adjusted at that time. And so the last couple of years, we've kind of been looking at pay adjustments to get us up to market levels within that, both in the fire department and the police department. There's very few positions in the fire department that need that. So our cost for those pay adjustments is not really that high when you consider the adjustments. But also included in those pay adjustments are two positions that we would reclassify. One of those positions is the EMS lieutenant. That position is currently paid at the same rate as a fire lieutenant is, even though their job is much more different. It's actually more of a battalion chief for EMS. That position is for us because of what they handle. They handle all of the supplies, any issues that we have. Protocol-wise, they answer major calls and act as that critical care medic that can respond in an expanded scope. Handle anything that we may have to deal with hospitals, any kind of safety issues with bloodborne pathogens or anything like that we have to deal with, all of those things.
Medical examiner as well.
Yeah, and they are also certified medical examiners as well. through the county to where they can attend, basically an unattended death or even attended death at home or on a scene, where they can declare that person and become the medical examiner under those situations. So those levels are where they function at. That's much different. So we wanted to reclassify this to EMS captain. And then our administrative assistant, Ms. Sharon, she does a whole lot more than just administrative assistant for us. She handles all of our payroll, well, not the payroll, but basically the accounts receivable, accounts payable. She does a lot of the supply intake, and we intake an incredible amount of supplies for EMS and the fire supplies and stuff like that. So she functions much more as, I guess, the department manager or office manager role than she would an administrative assistant role of just answering the phones and doing those things. She schedules all the inspections that are called in through GovBuilt, the new software that's doing that. She schedules a lot of the things with the fireworks permits, all of those inspections that are to do with those tents, and she goes through all those permit timeframes. So she's much more of an office manager to us. So that's those are the two classification changes that we would ask for within these adjustments. They're in the pay adjustments. But the total on those adjustments is around $69,276.88 is the total that would be there, and that would be what we would love to see placed in the budget. And I do want to say we are in full support of the police department's pay adjustments as well, because we understand what the pay adjustments that you did in 23 have done for us and keeping a great stable base of employee and allowing us to fairly compensate them within the market of our Middle Tennessee and across the state of Tennessee for fire and police and public safety. We have to stay marketable with those, or we're going to lose employees. So, and then out of everything that was, of course, you all have the requests for positions that we had asked for. I wouldn't ask for them if they weren't needed, but I understand where we're at budget-wise. If there is anything out of those that have been removed that we could put back, I would really love the fire lieutenant positions, the 3 fire lieutenants positions to be considered. When we open Station 3, we would have the ability to put the fire lieutenant on the ladder truck. We need those company officers on each one of those trucks, and that would be the position that we would ask. We could fund that for half a year and really be okay, because the new ladder truck will not be here until the mid part of next year, or or probably around April or May of next year. And by the time we get everybody trained, it will be probably May before we would get it in service. But that is a definite needed position to be placed on that truck, especially with the expanded capabilities that truck would undertake when it comes to ladder and rescue, et cetera. And so that's where we're at with the things we are. And again, and I think Ms. Dana tries their best to do the projections as we try to do the projections on the EMS side. But we did come in above budget for our revenues of what we projected. I think we projected 950,000.
I think that was last year.
Or was it last year? But we are currently sitting at right around $1.3 million in revenue coming in from EMS, and projected to probably finish a little bit over $1.4 million in revenue. It may have been
1.2.
1.2 this year. So we will finish out probably at 1.4, maybe even 1.5 million in EMS revenue for this year on collections that we have done. And
1.2.
it was 1.2 for this year. Last year it was 950, and we came in at a little over one.
Last year's actual was 1.18. So I budgeted 1.2 this year.
And we're going to be at about 1.4, 1.5. And yes, it's insurance, Medicare, and Medicaid. And I would go to say that those EMS positions, the EMS lieutenant positions, or what we're looking to reclass to EMS captains, go a long way toward making that number happen, as well as our employees and Chief Newman. How well we document our cases for EMS, our patient care reports, and how quickly we get those patient care reports in is paramount to us getting reimbursed quickly, especially when it comes to Medicare reimbursement. Those things really, really matter, is the level of documentation and what we're doing and the accuracy of that. And we've been audited by the state, and we've been audited by Medicare. Never had any findings from either the state or from Medicare on the way that we're doing business in over 2 years of business, 2 years of doing business in EMS, which is a great thing. And it's rare to find agencies that do not have those. But we're I'm very excited about the group of personnel that we have and things like that. And what we're performing at EMS level wise is just tremendous. I mean, our protocols, there's probably only 1 or 2 other agencies in the state that are functioning at the level we're at protocol wise. One of those is doing a little bit more than we are as far as carrying blood products that we don't currently carry, but we are probably going to be within the next year. And that's a hospital-based system. And it's easy for them to exchange blood with the hospital and their ambulances because they're based in the hospital. We're going to have to work out the logistics of how we do that, and we're able to carry those blood products, but we have the full capabilities training wise to do that now. But we're looking at those capabilities or providing those capabilities, but we're finishing up checkoffs on every person or every paramedic in our department being checked off on rapid sequence intubation. We're getting ready to do with our critical care medics, finger thoracostomies, which is an advanced level skill that basically is like putting in a chest tube that they would do in the hospital. We're doing it in the field. And things like that. And it's just the level of service that you're getting here is not what you're getting anywhere else. And I can assure you of that.
Very good.
And I can answer any questions that you all might have about what we have in the budget or any programs that we're doing or anything like that.
Just to note, the pay adjustments are not in the budget because I just got those numbers calculated today. So
Okay.
I'll add those to the department head request so you can see what that looks like.
Before I got here, I got that pay study. I haven't had a chance to look at it. Is it completed or is it partial?
Partial, based on some work we'd already started, but because of the public information request we had to go through with a lot of the cities, it just takes a while to gather that information, but we're working on it as fast as we can.
When do you think it's going to be? Because I think I asked for that last year
Oh, yeah,
for the mid-year review.
yeah. If you did, I'm sorry.
When do you think it'll be done?
I'm hoping as early as sometime next week, hopefully. Or definitely about
Okay.
first reading.
Oh, before the first reading?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd already started a lot of it, and I apologize if that was something that you'd asked. That's my fault if that was the case. I'll take ownership of that.
We're using the same one from 2020, 2021, the first year it's the same municipalities. Okay.
I think that's what they're looking at, yeah.
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 And this is
It's
a
just
real-
going to give me a good way to compare.
Yeah.
Like just make it consistent.
Yeah, and this is a little cleaner. The other one's a little complicated because there's a lot of that was done in-house. This will be done in-house, but you can compare apples and oranges with the cities. So you can just look
Right.
down and here's a position, and here's the 5 comparable cities, say, for example. So it'd be a lot simpler to look at.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, this has affected very few of our positions, our pay adjustments, because the pay adjustments that happened in 23 have most of our positions very competitive to market where we're currently at.
Vice Mayor.
So just because I've asked that same question, Commissioner, Ms. Dana, if you could, can you tell us what cities then, after we did that increase in 2020, how many cities out of those increased all of theirs right after we did? So can we elaborate on that a little bit?
I don't know that I have that information.
Can you, can you be able to
We
send it
do
to us
it.
in an email? Because again, this is a prime example of cities playing, again, just trying to go, oh, well, you guys go up, then we're going to go up. And it's going to be a never ending cycle with taxpayers' dollars.
If we use the same report from 5 years ago, you'll be able to see
Correct.
see what it was 5 years ago.
That's what I was hoping
See
for.
what it
Yes.
is
Yep.
today, so you'll see.
I just want to make sure you knew that because again,
No,
that was a
I-
conversation piece.
Yeah, I assume that there was some pay hikes along the way with these other municipalities. So.
Yeah.
We do try to look at the COLAs and get comparisons of what they're planning on giving for a COLA, which that increases your pay scale overall.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Actually, I do got some questions for the chief, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Sorry. So just real quick, if it's okay. So the training captain that we do currently have, that's on staff, he's doing all the in-house training, and then we're looking to add an additional trainer.
Yes, that's our
What's the
training-
difference there between them two?
He's an assistant chief over training division, and he also functions as our safety officer within the department. So he is our safety officer that would go on scene, kind of putting that under that role is a great thing, because a lot of the things you see safety wise are training issues that you need to correct through training.
Yeah.
Scene issues that we may see that we can correct through training. The training captain that we're asking for in the budget that was removed is a position that would kind of be split between EMS and fire. They would be able to teach EMT classes, but they would also be able to teach firefighting classes and assist in both of those divisions that would enable that position to be utilized. This past year, when we did our class, we did it. We pulled it off the fire academy class, but we used a lot of overtime to pull that off with Chief Brian Travis, Battalion Chief Brian Travis, Lieutenant Mark Stevens, and several others were very instrumental in making that class happen, but they were mainly working overtime when they were trying to teach that class if they weren't on shift. Additionally, EMS Lieutenant Eric Compton taught our EMT class. He is currently teaching our advanced EMT class, and to kind of scale down on overtime for him, we actually moved him into a 5-day-a-week position right now while that class is going on. And so that's kind of that position that we would need to have. But I mean, just as an example, to send someone to EMT school individually is about $3,800. We pay Vanderbilt $1,200. And then of course we have some overtime with Chief Compton, but that same comparable cost, that $2,600 savings, is literally because we're teaching that class in-house. And then when we teach the class in-house also, it gives us the ability to not have overtime based on staffing, because a person's not at Ball State Community College taking an EMT class. They're here taking an EMT class. And if they're on duty, if we get a call, they go to the call. And so it gives us the ability to flex that training to where we're doing more personnel in-house by providing the training in-house than it would if we can send one or two to either the State Fire Academy or to Ball State to attend EMT class. So that position would help us accomplish that and get that training done more, as well as our in-service training for both fire and medical is extensive. We have 40-hour in-service training that's just from the state, in addition to other training requirements for swift water and those things. That training captain would basically bounce between both divisions, training in both of those roles, EMS and fire.
And if we don't fill that role, what are we going to do for this year?
If we don't fill that role, we'll continue to do it based on overtime and utilizing people in that position on overtime roles, overtime hours, and just kind of piecemealing it more so than we would if we had that training position available.
So is there a cost savings that you guys can be able to help generate for us to be able to help us build this case? Because again, it's all about data. Just like I asked Mr. Rocky Lee, when it comes down to changing those positions from landscape folks to maintenance, because they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we take for granted, right? You know, they're moving things, they're movers, they're welders, they're everything. So again, if we, just like Joey and I talked about when you first came to this city, it's all about collecting data. We got to be able to, show our value. And just like Commissioner Hefner had talked about, if we're going to be looking at these increases, asking for these studies, we need data. And for us to be able to justify, hey, where's the cost savings? And if it's 100% pass through because we're bringing somebody in-house to do the training versus, like you said, sending them down there to Vanderbilt, we're paying for travel, we're paying for them to be out of pocket, and then we're paying for somebody to be in pocket while that person's away. So these are things that we're looking for in order for us to help justify these and be able to help your city manager. So that way, when he has to come to the commission and talk to us, it's all about data. And I know that's probably going to be another position for us to be able to have somebody collect the data. But again, these are things that we're looking for in order to help justify. Our taxpayers are going to be asking questions, just like Commissioner had stated. If we're looking to even remotely talk about an increase, our citizens are going to be asking these questions.
Yep.
They're asking for a lot of things, and this is going to be one of them is why is their taxes going up? Well, taxes going up because we got brand new equipment, that's picking you up and taking you to the hospital, and your response times are much quicker. I think the mayor did a great job at the state of the address, at the city address, that he showed all the data. So these are things that we want to be able to help and tell the story. You guys did a great job at sharing that, just like the police did. We just need to show some additional cost savings. So please, over the next couple of weeks, if you guys can be able to at least give us maybe a 10,000 foot view of what the cost savings were, that'd really help out.
Yeah, we'll put that in together and get it for you before the next reading.
And then my last question, real quick, I don't know if this is for Dana. I was noticing that our insurance went up double. Was that just because we added new equipment, or what's the, so if we go down to line item one, actually it's, yeah, it's 110, but it's actually 510. I'm sorry. Yes, 510. Was that just because we got more equipment, or the double there? We went from 75,000 budget. Well, it started off at 87,384. We had a budget for 75, and then it just jumped up to 129,976.
I'll have to take a look at that, but
It's under personnel.
I don't have that. Dana.
I don't remember offhand.
Okay.
But I'll look that up and.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if it's personnel, that would be like healthcare insurance, wouldn't it?
No, that line item is property insurance and liability.
Under personnel?
It's
If it's under.
It's under-
15,
in 510, it's not personnel, that's operating.
that out.
It's page 48
Yeah, page 48.
at the top. That's the continuation of operating expenses.
Oh, well, it says personnel at the top.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, right there in the top left
I see it as well.
versus
Oh.
84.
I see it.
That's a header.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you got me.
I'll bump that down.
All right, yeah, and it is above the total operations line, so.
It's an Excel. You know what? If we would have upgraded our
Excel.
our Excel, we probably wouldn't have had that blip in there. There we go. That's another cost.
It's a lot of tabs to.
No, I totally get it. What is the current percentage? One more question. That's okay, Mayor, since it's silent. I hate silence. You know what I mean? If we're all sitting here, there's a lot of time and money sitting here to begin with. So there was some rumors, which if you don't mind, Chief, if you can just kind of, because I like to clear up rumors since we're on public record. Can you guys explain to us why the ambulance service is not a loss? Because if we are bringing in, the commissioner had talked about almost, 1.2 million is where we're at so far today. So can you guys elaborate a little bit about a brand new department on where the money's coming from and also the cost of equipment and so forth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Dana and I looked at this together, but we essentially, EMS, as far as the revenue that we produce from EMS, et cetera, will pay for the operating and capital, but not the personnel. And so you're looking at about $2.1 million is what it costs us to provide ambulance service to the city. I would argue that also supplements fire, because the personnel and us having cross-trained personnel also augments what we can place on a fire scene. It'll help increase our ISO rating or help improve our ISO rating, et cetera. But that pales in comparison to what it does for EMS response. I mean, and the difference we're making, I mentioned protocols earlier, and the difference that we're making in people's lives in this community through EMS is immense. And I would say that, I kind of gave the example of, I did a presentation for our Rotary, Breakfast Rotary, just last week. And during that presentation, I said, okay, what has changed in 2+ years of us providing EMS since March of 2023 to now? What has changed? And but if you look at it then, Chief Mullins told me a story after I came to work here in August of 23 that he waited one time 28 minutes on an ambulance to come with an officer down in the field that was chasing a suspect and broke his leg. And 28 minutes. And I can tell you vehemently that no one has waited longer than even close to 15 minutes in this community since we started the ambulance service in 2023. I also mentioned that, when you look at the service that we provide, when we first started the service, we started with 2 ambulances because, we were buying used ambulances and having the equipment and getting the personnel on board. We started with 2 ambulances to see where we were at. We opened Station 2 in May of 23, which gave us the ability or a position to put another ambulance in that station. When we placed that ambulance into service in October of 23, after evaluating where we were at with calls, at that point in time, we were still relying on WEMA to come in to provide ambulance for us on an average of about 30 times a month. Still yet 30 to 32 times a month or so is when WEMA was coming in. So that's times that we had run out of those 2 ambulances. We didn't have any in service and we were calling WEMA. Since we placed the 3rd ambulance into service, we call them on an average of about 7 to 8 times a month. And those 7 to 8 times a month are a lot of times when we've had a car wreck to where we've had 2 or 3 patients injured, and that runs us out of ambulances, and we have them come to the car wreck and transport a patient for us there. So to say that the difference in our community is immense with response time and with outcomes is tremendous. We also, and I was just mentioning this to Chief Chandler earlier, and the collaboration that we have with the police department on our total emergency response, things that are happening. We trained several of those people to EMT, or their personnel to EMT. We've trained their personnel on using bag valve masks, and we've provided bag valve masks for the officers. And that thing made a difference this past weekend. We had a gentleman that was in our Station 2's territory. I'm not even sure what street it was. I didn't ask, but in the north side of the city, that had a cardiac arrest while he was mowing his yard. And neighbors witnessed him collapse and go to the ground. They started CPR, called 911. Our police department were the first to arrive. They started performing CPR. Within just a couple of minutes, we were there. 6 minutes after the gentleman called 911, or they called 911, the first defibrillation was delivered by our personnel. And the gentleman was awake and alert when he got to the hospital, got a pulse back, was awake and alert when he got to the hospital, went to the cath lab. He is now being reassigned to a step-down unit from the ICU today after like 4 days, 5 days. And it's amazing outcomes. And those are the outcomes that our EMS service brings you and this community. And so I would say when you talk about the justification for $2.1 million, that one person right there is more than enough. And we have made much more difference than that, I can assure you.
I agree. No, I just wanted to make sure, because there's always rumors, right? So it's either we pay for the employees or we pay for the operations side of it. And us being a brand new department, it's going to help balance it out here by 3rd and 4th year. And then we'll be able to start justifying some of our assets when we need to replace them. And to kind of leads that into my next question, there's a Battalion 2 replacement of an F-250, or an F-150 2017. How many miles? Again, the reason I'm asking, I'm thinking about our parks, right? They just gave back $600,000. We need to be looking at being proactive. So if we have a truck that just does not fit our fleet, let's say for emergency services, and I know we do it already, but listen, there's still life because these are government, vehicles. We have to do the top, maintenance on all of these. These are our first responders. So we know it's a good vehicle. 2017 that may have 200,000 miles on it has been well maintained than somebody owning a 2017 truck out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it currently has about 85,000 miles. By the time it goes out of service, it will likely have over 100,000 miles.
that's great. So it should be great for our parks because it's been well maintained.
Mhm.
So that's something that you guys could please work with our city manager and potentially cross out a line item of $44,000 request for parks. So that'd be a great opportunity there. And then the other one, which is the machinery and equipment. Is there anything, again, all of this equipment here, is this for the new station or is this just to help backfill some of the equipment that's being retired?
A lot of the major portion of it is what you see, the SCBA equipment. We're still replacing our outdated air packs. They have a lifespan of 10 years. This department was started obviously 2013, and we're using the better ones to go into training so we don't tear up our new ones. But that's kind of the majority of it. And then as you notice, the other bigger line is the aerial equipment, and that will be kind of to offset some of the tools and equipment that we currently have on our ladder truck. This will be more or less the rescue jacks, the heavier rescue equipment will go on that apparatus. That's what that's for. And then the other thing, the extrication tools and some of the other miscellaneous tools, those are just typical things that we try to replace outdated equipment, such as our jaws of life, the more high ticket items, not generally axes and those type things. I'm not really, it's kind of general stuff, but extrication tools, when we say that, we're talking more of jaws of life than like say hand tools.
Okay, so we're going to keep the old equipment for training purposes and then
Mhm.
revamp the new equipment and then, okay, that's great. And then last question is, when it comes down to this equipment that we're looking at for the new fire station, is that in this year's budget or is it going to be for next year's budget?
Everything that's included in our budget would include fully furnishing and equipping Station 3, as well as the new ladder that would arrive
Okay,
in April.
so that's already been budget?
Yeah, it's in this budget. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then last question, I know I keep saying that, but I'm just going down on my notes here. So the individuals at the current fire station, bringing them over to the new one, outside of the ones for the ladder trucks, okay? What would happen if we don't backfill those seats? I mean, do we have the coverage?
Well, I mean, all we're asking for is those positions on the ladder truck because we're short. We don't have a company officer on that ladder truck. And
Only
with
for the
additional
ladder trucks.
expanded role, we're not adding any personnel for the new station per se.
Mhm.
This would be for the new ladder truck. As it comes online, we would add the third person to that truck. It is the only apparatus that functions for us that does not have 3 persons minimum assigned to it on a daily basis. It only runs with 2, which is below what our staffing minimum should be on that truck. And that's why we're asking for this position.
And you're hoping to get this backfilled by April of next year, not the full physical year, just enough for
Yeah.
training?
Yeah, what we would like to do is potentially fill those lieutenant positions or start that process at mid-year. So if we could fund those 3 positions at mid-year, which would of course be half of that amount that's in the budget for those 3
And what line
lieutenant
item is that?
positions.
Oh, I'm sorry,
So-
I'm zoned.
Personnel.
Yeah, and
Well, now that the personnel's been discussed on the page for,
162.
thank you, 162. Okay.
yeah, I think it'd be $218,000
Under
if we did it for half a year, whereas the request was for $436 for a full year.
What was that number again?
It's on page 50.
Okay, that's why I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's 50 on that, but it's marked 47 under Dana's page, but it's actually number 50 on my sheet.
Page 47 at the top under personnel.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so 47 personnel.
I believe that line was 436,090.
Okay. So, Ms. Dana, this was a question that Commissioner Mullally was asking also, just to me, because she was, I mean, like her and I were just discussing. There was a question in there. So, and I think I even talked to one of the department heads. You know, when we look at the retirement benefits, right, with what the city's paying into, have we looked at opportunities here? Because, like, you know, again, these day and ages, all, you know, like officers and, you know, staff may not always stick around for 10 years before they're fully invested. So we're paying into something. Do we get any type of credit back on that? Or is that just like lost revenue? Or is it like a gamble? Or
Well, they do.
how's that work?
TCRS runs the retirement, and then they tell us every year what rate we need to pay in for the retirement. So we don't have any really control or say over what they give us, like a minimum rate, and then we can pay more if we want to. We don't
Sure.
want to. We pay the minimum rate. But
For example, let's just say we've got an officer. I'm just going to use an officer because we're not up here right now. But if we used an officer, and let's say that we paid in for 3 years and that officer leaves, do we get any credit back for those 3 years?
I think they calculate that probably in their rate based on what we've put in and what the earnings are and what they project out that we would have to pay in the future. So we don't get a credit necessarily, but it would be in the rate, whatever they assessed us at. Yeah.
It does stay in the city.
Yes.
That's what I
It's
was
still
looking
the
for.
city's. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. I was just trying to.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And this is why it's great to have these meetings where everybody's in the room where we can be able to get folks like that. Because again, not everybody understands it. And me being one of them, I want to understand if we're just paying into it and there's no retention for our employees, right? If we're not staying competitive, then we may lose employees, then we lose additional funding. And then on top of all that, and then we lose more funding when we have to retrain new employees. So there's additional costs there. So just thinking outside the box. Thank you. That's all I have, gentlemen, for me.
All right. Thank you, guys.
I would just say one other thing of note on record. At Mr. Daniels' retirement reception this afternoon at Chick-fil-A, Chief Mullins admitted that publicly that he wants to be a firefighter. I just want that to be on record.
Well, we're bringing him to the microphone next, and he can either go over his budget or elaborate about his dreams of being a fireman.
He needs to get a bigger mustache. I seen some videos this past week.
I want to be well rested in my retirement, that's why.
Is that a zine?
First time you've ever worked in your life.
Yeah, that goes all the way around. Ladies and gentlemen, we come in peace.
Got a piece? You bring donuts? Me too. Me too.
So I want to start like every other department head did and start about bragging on my people. I think that the paperwork that's been passed around to you, when you look at statistically in every category that is measurable by law enforcement standards, you have the best police department serving you, at least in the Middle Tennessee area. The statistics show that we are the safest city in the areas of property crime and crimes against persons. The only thing that keeps us from having the best crime rate in the state is our self-initiated stuff, and that's the defense mechanism that we put in place to keep the Davidson County hoodlums from coming over here and wreaking havoc. The mayor challenged me at the State of the City 2 years ago now that he quoted all the great statistics that Chief Hambrick was leaving us with and looked at me and said, now, no pressure. I think we have responded well, that we have improved upon those numbers in every category. The second packet that you will see going around to you, and I do appreciate everything Miss Dana has done. She has been busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. And she was working on the pay study stuff that we requested. She did get me those numbers late this afternoon. I appreciate for that. But you can also see that the study that I provided is that I had a friend of mine that works for Hendersonville Police Department, and they recently did their pay scale study for their department, and the numbers that he gave me are just for patrol officers. That is just a plain patrol officer numbers. And if you look at that study that he provided me, it shows that the City of Mount Juliet Police Department has the lowest starting pay of any of those 13 agencies there. It does not include Lebanon. We are below Lebanon in both starting pay and top out pay now. And that number that you see on there with Hendersonville, you can add 10% to that because of their pay scale study. They increased their law enforcement pay scale by 10%. So you can look at that and see that the Mount Juliet Police Department has the lowest starting pay scale of any of those 13 agencies. And then if you flip to the second page, you're going to see that the City of Mount Juliet came in third from the bottom on top out pay of all those agencies. So when you look at the statistical data that I give you compared to many of the companies or many of the agencies that's on that sheet, you will see what the Mount Juliet Police Department is doing, comparatively speaking, to our counterparts surrounding us.
And misspelled the city to add insult to injury.
Say that one more time.
And misspelled the city's name to add insult to injury.
Where's that at? Oh, well, that came from Hendersonville, so you can blame them. But the one thing that I do want to point out with our pay scale study, and I'll get into just a brief description of what our priority list is in this budget. Mr. Martin has been very gracious with us this year and speaking with us, and I understand the difficult position that he's in trying to control the whole pie when I'm just focused on my portion of it. I lost where I was going, but where was I at?
Overall cost of the increase, 330.
Oh, so what we were asking for in this budget was just to be brought to comparable status with the fire department. Last year we got with the fire department and we just asked them, we sat down with them and said, we went through the job descriptions and what was required for each one of our positions and says, all right, for a patrol sergeant, this is what a patrol sergeant's responsibility is. What is the equivalent in fire? Because their rank structure is very different from ours. I can't compare a police sergeant to a fire sergeant because he doesn't exist. So the numbers that we're asking for in this budget is just to get us comparable with fire. I promise you, Mr. Hefner, that when you get your pay scale study, you're going to find that the number that study says that we should be paid compared to other police departments in our area is going to be far more than the number we're asking for just to be compared to our fire department.
What I like about the pay study that years ago is ranks them
Sure.
by
That's going to be a big number.
position across
Mhm.
the other municipalities. It's not, wasn't in comparison to internal departments.
Right. But I'm going to tell you, that's going to be a big number. That's going to be a much larger number than what we're asking for. But going back through some of the high points of our budget, I've spoke with all of you individually. We originally asked for 4 police officers, 2 dispatchers, and our mental health specialists. After speaking with Mr. Martin and understanding that, we've reduced that to 3 police officers, a dispatcher, and our mental health person. Of those, our mental health person is our highest priority, behind our pay scale study. It is important to me that we're asking our people to work this hard and to do the things that, quite honestly, a lot of other police agencies don't do because we do things the Mount Juliet way. We've invested in this community. So I want to take care of the current employees I have, first and foremost. But after that, we have been operating under a grant for the last 3 years with mental health. That grant runs up in June. And quite honestly, I don't know if it lasts to June 30th. Yeah, I've just been told that the grant runs up in June. So come July 1, if this position isn't approved, July 1, we are out of the mental health business. And if you can see on the paper that I give you, our largest call volume increase last year was mental health. Our mental health calls increased 62%. So what does that look like before we had mental health? The same way the question you asked, what happened before we had Brody present, right? So our officers were doing that. But when our officers were responding to mental health calls, one, she has been great to train us on what mental health looks like. Before we had fire, we were not very good at EMT stuff either. But because of fire, we've been able to improve our EMS service in-house. But we've also been able to identify what mental health looks like more externally, not internally, but externally. And so we've been able to de-escalate a lot of situations coming into that situation, knowing what we're seeing and knowing that there's a different way that we have to approach those calls for service. But also when we do get in a situation where someone is in crisis and we have to take that person into protective custody for their benefit, before we would take that person in protective custody, we would drive to the local emergency room and we would probably have to sit with that person at a minimum for 4 hours to 6 hours and sometimes longer than that until that person gets a mobile crisis person to the hospital. That person with mobile crisis is able to do an interview with them. Then they can sit down and find somewhere they're going to place that individual. So going from 4 hours to maybe more, at a minimum, is what our officers are spending at the hospital. With the help of our mental health specialist, she is writing that paperwork on the way with us to the hospital. And our people are out of the hospital maximum within 45 minutes. So that is the time that people are able to get back to the city, get back to chasing Davidson County people back across the border. I wanted to budget for a wall. Mr. Martin wouldn't let me do it. He said that Davidson County had to pay for it. But that mental health person is our priority. We do want to get 3 more boots on the ground patrol officers out so we can increase our numbers of officers that are on the road. I'm not going to say it because the camera's running, but the number one question we ask when we go to speak at events is how many officers do you think we have? How many officers do you think we have on the road at any given time? That number is generally 3 to 4 times higher than what that number really is. So we need to get those extra. These are not supervisor positions. These are boots on the ground patrol officers that we need to add to each shift. And then the dispatcher positions that we were asking for 2. We are calling these advanced operators because we have plans for them further down the road. If we ever get back into a drone for first responder, these will people that will take additional training to fly the drone if we ever get to that point. But we need 2 more dispatchers just to get to full staff where we can dispatch the way we should for EMS. We are still 2 dispatchers behind where we should be dispatching for EMS. So this gets us to where we need to be for that. So I will be glad to answer any particular line items that you have, but those are our priorities. I am blessed to serve the best police department in Middle Tennessee, and I think that they deserve to be taken care of. And I'm sorry, Dana, if it's okay if I kind of say this number.
Mm-hmm.
So the number that Miss Dana did give me, and it does not top any employee out. Not a single employee would be topped out in this. But the number that we're asking for in our pay scale study, according to Miss Dana that she has, is $334,921. And I don't know if she said any cents, but that's what I wrote down.
Now, would that get us up to these numbers that you're sharing today, or what even get us?
That will get us to where we're comparable with fire.
Well, I'm going to go back to the same thing you just gave us, which is, are these numbers comparable to where we are with our other, competition?
No, it is not.
It still puts us under the mark.
It does.
Okay. My concern is, again, every time we lose an officer, how much does it cost us to bring back another new officer to get through the academy, fully trained with gear and everything? What is the cost of that? I know Commissioner Hefner asked that back in 2021, 2022, but what is it today?
It's hard to put an exact number on that because, so I can give you the cost of going to the academy. It's in the budget. The cost of us sending somebody to the academy is $3,000. Then you run into the cost of uniforms and stuff, and that's going to be in another number. But the real number that comes into contact with us is when we lose a body. And that probably plays a role into what Commissioner Hefner was talking about earlier about why so much money gets turned back into the budget, because we turn a lot of money back in at the end of each year. Partly because we have a contingency that's in our line items. You can see our contingency numbers. Sometimes the numbers will be different because we're putting our budget together. We put our budget together around the first half of March. It doesn't get approved till July, but we're probably not spending that money to the following. Some of that money's not being spent to the following February or March of the next year because we want to make sure that we're not blowing all our money too early in the year in case something comes up. And those prices are going to fluctuate throughout that year. And then we're going to argue with people and try to haul them around to get the best number we can. So those numbers do fluctuate. But I forgot where I was going again. But
I'd like to add something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So, you think of cost in the numbers of it
as well. But when we lose a police officer, it basically takes a year before we're able to replace that police officer. Because you have to advertise for the position, right? You then have to look for good quality candidates. Lately, the quality of candidates isn't as high as what we would hope for. So we keep that posting open a little bit longer, just again, hoping that we get a good quality candidate in. We have a posting right now for 2 open positions where we've had other officers leave. One went to be an SRO in Rutherford County. One went to be an officer in Metro Nashville Police Department. So we have 2 openings now, but we're leaving this opening open way longer, just hoping we see a good quality candidate hit and enough of them to then do interviews with those quality candidates. And then so you train them up. They have to go to the police academy whenever that may be, which there's a backlog in that. So it could be 3 to 4 months before a police academy. They're in the police academy for either 10 to 12 weeks. They come back from that police academy, and then they're in an FTO period for approximately another 4 to 6 months, depending how well they're doing. And then they're back on the street. But you also lose the experience an officer has. They get to know the city. They get to know the community. They know where to patrol. They know what the risks are. They know where to look. And I think where you see how we are doing so well today is we have a good core group of police officers that have really refined their skill. They are working well together. Our morale is extremely high. They're happy. They're looking at things. And I go back to this pay thing. If there was anything that we needed to do to better their quality of life, is just to get their pay up a little bit. And the $335,000 gets them up a little bit, where they feel like, you know, that we're definitely appreciated, which we know y'all appreciate them. And we know budgets are hard. We get that. And they get that. And they've been patient for the past couple of years as we continue to fight for their higher salary. And just to give them some more hope and to know that they're appreciated, because it really drives them hard every day. It does. And they see how their community respects them and loves them, and they cheer them on every day. And they go out and work so hard for this city. So hard. Just looking at the numbers of what our police officers do, the number of arrests they make compared to other agencies, and the number of officers they have, their population level, their level of crime rate, they are truly doing the work that keeps this city safe.
Yeah, social media is showing it. I'm telling you, you guys tell a great story of all the guns we're taking off the street, the drugs that are passing through our city, along with everything else that's going on. We're even supporting other departments when they're coming in, you know, with everything else. So again,
And I would say none of
this
this
is
would
great.
be possible without y'all's support. Y'all have supported us tremendously over the years. We have it really good. We do. But that support is paying off.
But to answer your question, Commissioner, the part that's hard to quantify about how much it costs to train, to hire a new officer is the total number of man hours through
Overtime, yeah.
that 4 to 6 months where we're having to ride, that person's riding in the car with us, and we're training that individual. So it does take, on average, from the time that we post the position to the time that I get the officer in a vehicle by themselves where they can patrol a zone by themselves, is normally going to be at least 9 months.
Okay. Now, to go back to the dispatching, because again, you know, personally, I think it needs to be split budget since we're doing both calls, but it comes out of the same piggy bank, I guess, best way to put it. But so with that, I mean, is there data that's justifying where these 2 extra positions are being requested?
So for us to,
Is our calls being delayed? And I'm thinking about maybe, you know, again, vacations, people taking off, emergencies, dark spots is what we call them. So
with
again,
dispatching, and Mr. Martin talks about it and very proud of it, and I'm proud to be the chief of that agency that does it. We're one of 10 agencies in the city that dispatch, or in the state that dispatches for fire, police, and EMS.
Yep.
And many of those others are going to be metro form of governments that are doing that. There's not many municipalities that are doing that. So currently we run 3 dispatchers per shift. Where we need to be is we need to be 4 dispatchers per shift. And sometimes when we do have extended sick leaves, you know, we had a dispatcher that has had some heart issues, that he was out for an extended period of time. So there for a period of time, we were running with 2 dispatchers on a shift. So we do need to get to the point where we're dispatching 24 hours a day with 4 dispatchers in the room. And once we do get to that level, you'll have a specific person that's taking calls. You'll have a specific person that's dedicated for dispatching for police. You have another one for EMS and fire. And then you have that one person that's making sure that nothing's falling through the cracks. And that person is going to be the person in the room that is trained to that extra level, that when we do get into a drone business, that person will be the extra person trained that will have the ability to maybe run tags or do in dispatch analyst work for people if we're running slow, or they're able to fly the drone if we have to. So that's the name change difference for the advanced operator, because we're going to put some extra training on that person while they're inside our dispatch room, that will have the ability to throw a drone up if it is a fire call, and can launch that drone as soon as it's typed into dispatch. The dispatcher types that code in and the address. That drone is automatically going to launch as fire is putting their PJs on, and we're going over the top of the fire call to see where the smoke is coming from the building. If it's a commercial business, a lot of times we're getting the HVAC units on fire on top of the buildings. The drone will be above that, be able to see that it's an HVAC fire, and be able to tell you which HVAC unit it is before they even get to the scene. If we're on an issue where we have an LPR hit, I am not a fan of pursuits. Everybody that works for me knows I'm not a fan of that. It is a necessary part of our job, though. But if we get this drone up and we get an LPR hit, in many cases, they're coming here to do something wrong, right? So we can get that drone up without them knowing we're in the area, find where they're pulling into a parking lot, so that having that person trained and ready to go before we get the drone here is going to be important.
I agree.
Just today, we had 12 officers looking for a suicidal juvenile in the Providence area and around paddocks. So when you're searching for a person at eye level, at road level, it's very hard to see around obstacles, right? Having something just 400 feet in the air or 200 feet in the air looking down is so much easier to find people who are missing, wanted suspects, and we do that quite frequently, where instead of using 12 officers, our detectives having to come out, every unit having to come out to find this individual to ensure they're safe, the drone can probably get overhead and find them within a few minutes.
Is that in the budget this year?
It was removed from the budget, but we continue to have meetings with our vendor, and there may be cost savings in the long run with some contracting that we can bring in front of you to basically lower the initial cost of the drone program. And this is the initial cost for all of our technology systems. So just getting in depth with this, we have LPR, we have cameras at our major intersections that we deploy. So it's a safe city program that really enhances our operation early on, but extends the cost out over a period of 10 years. So our initial year 1 through year 5 cost is a lot lower than the 5 through 10 year cost.
So you're talking about spreading out the upfront cost on some of this?
Correct.
So that's like your radar and all of the other
Correct.
one-time costs?
There is some things that are still being worked out on that to find out how it would work if we enter into such a contract, that at year 3, a new BOC is sitting here and decide that they no longer want to fund that. We got to find the mechanism to end that contract.
And
They buy it out.
And they are working with us on the government clause in there that says if it's not funded, they come get their equipment.
But you got, was it 300K? Was that the number that was in there?
Let me see what was in there.
It's 300K?
300K, yeah. So 300K basically got us one drone. Ideally, you want two, because the drone battery life is about 30 to 45 minutes. If you're on an extended call, the other drone launches while the other one has to come swap out its battery. But the Safe City program, I think, we're still meeting with them on these numbers, but like year 1 was only 150,000. That gave us 70 LPR cameras. Right now, we just have 54. That would give us 70 pan tilt zoom cameras, which would help cover some of the costs that the IT department submitted for the Greenway cameras. But it also gives you 2 drones and the radar. and all the other software components that is also in our budget for the Flock operating system that helps the dispatcher manage all the systems as well. So I think there's some opportunity there to get into the Safe City technology program a lot earlier if we spread those costs out. And if Flock comes back to us putting that government clause in there, or we could always cancel it if y'all don't fund it. I think there's also going to be a clause in there that we can't go with another company, a non-compete clause, if we do get out of the LPR or the PTZ or the drone business altogether.
That makes sense.
And there's no facial recognition on it either.
I just don't want to be recognized on the trail when I walked 5 miles.
Well, you know, the one
It's
good
pretty
thing-
rough.
I know we're off track a little bit, but the good thing about the drone, and you're talking about looking for missing people, like the individual today in the Walmart Paddocks area. I could say I'm looking for a redheaded child wearing a blue and white plaid shirt, and it knows to single out that and find those individuals wearing that type of outfit. So the AI ability of that drone is impressive.
What's the life of those drones?
So we don't have to worry about the life because we pay a program fee.
It's just a membership
So
fee.
we don't own any camera. If it breaks, they fix it. If somehow it breaks a propeller, that they fix it and ship a new one to us.
Drone as a service.
And, we're looking at studies from other agencies that already use it where like 22,000 calls for service are being handled just by the drone alone, where it's able to get up and see something. I mean, I can give countless examples of where it can be used, but, we'll have say I was driving down the road and I saw 2 of our officers running emergency traffic to a dump truck blocking lanes on Lebanon Road that was broke down, right? When they got there, guess what? The dump truck wasn't there. So we sent officers running emergency traffic through the city to get there when there really wasn't a need for it. Because what you have a lot of times is a caller passes by something and sees something and doesn't see the outcome of it. It could have been stalled. It could have got out of the way. But we also have callers that call us a lot of times and give us information that the way the call is coded, it's coded at a higher escalation. But in reality, it's just fireworks. Last night we had down in Chandler Point, there was that lady apparently heard arguing and heard gunshots. Large police response out to Chandler Point. When our officers get there, they find a friendly party and fireworks. Right? So a friendly party and fireworks is a 1 to 2 police car response without emergency traffic. Shots being fired, argument, everyone in the city's going to that. So a huge difference in the level of how we respond to incidents. And I think over time, we're not going to have to hire as many police officers because we're using technology to our advantage to supplement what police officers would normally have to do on the street.
Well, in that scenario, would you not still send police officers? Or are you going to wait for the drone to fly out there and
Well, the drone
verify
can
it?
be anywhere in the city in under 2 minutes.
Because it could have been guns, right?
Yeah. So you
So we're not going to delay any. We're not going to delay
You're
it just
definitely not
because.
delaying it, but you can also downgrade that response a lot faster.
Okay.
Every moment we have.
I don't think we should be waiting for a drone to verify what it is.
It's all at the same time, same as it's being dispatched. So there's also delay in calls being dispatched. So when you call 911 in Wilson County, that goes to a central 911 office who is already coding the call.
Mhm.
The way the system works is as the call is being coded, it's popping up on the pilot of this drone system and saying, hey, you have a shots fired call over in Chandler Point. They can click launch drone before we even get the call transferred to us.
Hmm. So
So then this call is coming to us and then it's being dispatched to the officers and then they're en route. There's also technology with this Safe City program.
But within 2 minutes, they've got eyes on the scene.
They got eyes on the scene. Yeah.
And if it's like a house fire, that's the difference between rolling 3 trucks and
Sure.
seeing that somebody's burning leaves in the backyard or grilling.
And another benefit to the Safe City program, if we choose to go this whole package route, is we also get to hear the 911 calls as they come in. And I say we, the officers in the field. So when someone calls 911 in Wilson County, it pops up on the officer's screen and they can start listening to it before it's ever even transferred to our agency. And we're hearing what's occurring. So people are already going to get a faster response knowing there's a 911 call taking place somewhere. Technology, the way it is today, is really advancing rapidly. And I think we can definitely use it to save costs in the long run, right? It's not going to be an initial cost savings. It's going to be new to us. But over time, we're going to see that, man, we're able to do what we can to keep our city safe. And we don't need as many police officers out here as our city continues to grow larger and larger.
It seems to follow the same logic as the LPRs,
Yeah.
which was the criminals are using technology against us, coordinating on social media, everything else that goes on. It only makes sense that we use everything that's available to us to
And
defend
just-
ourselves.
Just the continued successes that we see. I did year-to-date numbers from 2004 to 2025. Just from last year to this year, our vehicle theft is down 30%. Vehicle theft has continued to drop year after year.
Wow.
And so just from this time last year to now, down 30%. Shoplifting is down 19%. Theft from vehicle is down 53%. And these are the crimes that affect citizens and our businesses. And that's what we're truly trying to prevent. And that's why you see your police officers out here generating 58% of crime is what they find. And that's your drugs, that's your illegal weapons, that's your wanted people.
And we are the document year to date is attached to the back of one of your packets that shows where we are from January to now. I think one of you had reached out to me about shoplifting numbers. And the shoplifting from January to now is down as well.
I'd also like to add crashes are down too, which we haven't seen in a long time. Down 6%, which I'll take it as a win.
Yeah.
I think that's because we got a better presence of officers out there that are, I mean, I'm telling you right now, every time I talk to somebody, they're like, man, Mount Juliet is all over the place. And like you said earlier, we may not be 100%, but the perception, we are all over. And that makes everybody be more awareness, drive safer, put your phones down. And again, but it's also, I think the promotion that we're always continuously, edifying and uplifting our officers.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we catch something, we're putting on social media, because again, it's telling the story, and it sets the stage for a win for everybody to get these numbers. So it's great. Are these public, by the way? Is this on your guys? I mean, is this on the city's website by chance?
We have a crime insights page that our community can go to. So a lot of what you see is public. The fresh data I pulled for you today isn't public, but overall, yes, it's public. It just takes a while to be updated through TBI and our graphics that go on the website.
So
the sheet that what sheet do you have right
just
now?
this right here.
That's on our website.
Okay. So the city manager and I were talking about this. I know the commissioners talk about it all the time. And heck, I've talked about it with every department, is us telling the story, which is, again, if there is any type of rumors going around or discussion about higher taxes because the citizens are asking for more, they want this rec center, they want better coverage, they want ambulance service, they want fire service. We're hitting the best numbers out there for ISO. Again, we got to be able to tell the story, and I don't care what, I mean, if this gets pushed out and it's during my time that I get elected, I'm out there campaigning, I don't care. But these are the things, honestly, which I don't think we should be worrying about somebody's campaign, whether or not to be able to get taxes raised or even have that discussion. I mean, and I know it's thrown out there. It's being recorded, but listen, at the end of the day, it is, as I always said, it's our kids, public safety, and everything else is going to be built with or without us. But if we don't have places for our kids to be safe, and we don't have the first responders to be able to take care of these kids, then what are we here for? What are we working for? The roads, the businesses, they're going to come with or without us. TDOT's going to be building the roads with or without us. It's our staff, but we got to be able to tell the story. So again, I'm going to go back to the same thing. We need to be able to make sure that, again, as we are up here, some of us may be up for reelection, or some of us are just got voted in. They need to be able to go out there and justify, hey, this is where your tax dollars are going. We're at 11 cents right now. I mean, in my eyes, we're way behind. And it just, I'm going to take partial blame for that, because at the same time we were coming out of COVID, we were looking at some opportunities for savings. We had a nice reserve. We looked like we were in a good position. However, we didn't think about the 100+ employees that we were going to be hiring that next year. and then the pay increases, and then of course the newer equipment, the new departments, all of these things. So as the citizens are listening tonight, because I know they're not in the room because it's only staff, the citizens should be aware that, hey, again, we're trying to count every penny out here, but there's only so many pennies. It's called 11 cents. Look at your house. You know,
Yeah, and I think what you also have to realize is the product that our department provides.
it's A,
And-
I mean, it's A rating.
Right.
It's
but
the best.
With a really lean, strong staff. And to me, if we're able to still do what we can with a lean, strong staff, I would much rather have high quality, well-trained officers and a bunch of other officers who aren't high quality and well-trained. And how we get our officers high quality and well-trained and attractive is to help with those salaries. And Mr. Hefner, years ago, when you fought for us for our initial raise and you had that pay study done, you said something to me that you hope we're the best police department one day. And we'll continue at it. You know, I don't know what metric someone judges us as the best police department, but every day since you've told me that, it sticks in my head. We're going to fight as hard as we can to get there.
Good. I'll make sure you have tools to do it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I do have a question about the personnel.
Yes, sir.
What's your best guesstimate? Because they're not going to be hired July 1, right? Correct.
No, well.
With the exception of the one.
With the exception of one, because she's already on staff, we would like to just to roll her in day one with us when that grant runs out. But the others, it takes some time. Like the DC said, we just don't hire bodies to have bodies. I mean, we've had these two positions posted for a long time now, and we've actually extended the posting now twice because we want to get a better candidate pool. So it takes a while for us to get someone hired.
Okay. Will it happen in the first half of the year?
If
I'm asking you to speculate,
it's,
but I mean, you can get a good candidate
we
tomorrow,
would be,
right?
it would be close. I mean, I think we
have 2
could,
open spots.
Yeah.
it would probably be, we could probably get part of the positions filled by the end of the budget. I mean, by the end of the calendar year. But it's unlikely we would be able to get them all filled by the end of the calendar year.
Okay.
Do we just lose them because of money?
I think
Or is it just a better environment for them to be in? Because they're going
I think
to,
money and the less work they have to do. So we run into that when we see officers leave to go be SROs. And this is no
Yeah.
doubt on that, but our officers have to work very hard and be proactive, right?
Yep.
SROs have a strong role, right? They go to the schools, they protect them. They're off during the summer. It's a different type of role.
Totally
As
agree.
a police officer.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have officers that just don't want to be as proactive here, and they have to be proactive here. You know, there's a standard that we hold. The other officer who went to Metro Nashville, of course, more money, and he just has a different desire and outlook on policing.
Their retirement's a little different, but I will give you an example. Not everybody that leaves us leaves on their own will. Okay. So we had an individual that we had hired and that was going through the FTO program. I'm not going to mention their name, but they were going through our FTO program and we were training them. We invested quite a bit of time into them. But at the end of the day, they wasn't progressing at the speed that we would want them to progress. So we wished them the best and sent them on their way.
okay.
About 3 weeks later, I received a phone call from another agency in our area, and they asked me, did I know this person's name? And I said, yes, sir. They asked me about it. I said, I think that person's going to be a good officer one day. He's just not going to be a good officer here. And he said that you'll never know, never guess what this individual said to me in the interview process of why he left, why he was no longer with the Mount Juliet Police Department. And I said, well, can you enlighten me? Because I thought he was going to be bashing us or saying something ugly. And he said they expect all their officers to be excellent. And I wasn't excellent.
That's awesome.
That's what he said to another. I don't know if I would say that in an interview, but that's what he said in his interview of why he was no longer with us.
Honesty's, yeah.
No, that agency did not hire him. He did get hired, not by that particular agency.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
That's good. That's good.
That's good. Thank you.
Anything else? Hey, Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you.
You also had drug fund. Did you have anything you wanted to add on that one? Or is it just,
Not unless y'all were asking questions, I'm not going to stick my foot in it.
just,
You don't get here 27 years by sticking your foot in it.
all right? Public Works.
You want to have a break? You don't need a break? Don't have it, boy.
I'm good.
Are we in
All right,
stormwater or are we in
so-
public works?
It's tough to follow emergency service. We got great emergency service departments.
Stormwater and.
So Matt, you've got Public Works, Street Aid, and Capital, so.
Yeah, I got highways and streets administration. I've got state street aid. I've got our garage budget and capital projects fund. And I think Public Works Buildings and Grounds is under us too, which covers the annex building. But that, obviously, that building comprises multiple departments, so it's not all me. So yeah, I gave you our department highlights here. I'll just run through them real quick. Personnel request. I'm actually proposing a reduction in personnel cost, which I don't know if any other department has done that, and I'll kind of explain how I did that. But so no new positions or employees requested, only a few reclassifications requested. So these are the same as what I asked for last year, but they didn't get passed. One is to reclassify traffic signal control technician 2 to a traffic field manager. This position is evolved into more of a field inspector of contractors who are building new signals, our ITS project that's under construction right now. So whether that's a developer putting in a new signal or if that's a city project, they're out there overseeing the contractor and make sure it's done right, because they're our subject matter experts on signal systems and the complexity of those. So I'm requesting a $2 increase in their pay rate and reclassifying the title of the position to traffic field manager. The one that's a reduction is I'm reclassifying our transportation project manager to a capital project inspector. The person that was in this role of transportation project manager left the city and went to Metro, higher pay, like PD said. But that was an engineer level position. So obviously it demands a higher pay rate because of the higher classification. I had an internal guy with a lot of experience in inspection approach me and wanted to take this role. So I took that opportunity to reclassify it because they're not an engineer level. So I took that opportunity to lower the pay rate on that job. So it reduces that top out pay rate by $7 and change per hour. The other one I'm asking for is our reclassifying our senior mechanic position to a senior fire apparatus mechanic. So when we built our new garage over on Clemens Road, we built it so that we could start working on our fire apparatuses and ambulance now that we have an EMS service. In order to work on those types of vehicles, you have to have a certain class or certification. And this employee obtained that certification a couple years ago, but he's still at the same pay rate as our other mechanic that doesn't have those certifications. So I'm asking for also a $2 increase in that pay rate to essentially award him for additional certifications that he had to receive to do that. As you see on the sheet, there's one I crossed out. That was a misunderstanding. I was under the impression that the certified lead mechanic was still in our budget, but it was just frozen from being filled. It turns out that
was removed last year from our budget, so I'm not requesting to add that position. But I do think in the future, as we grow and we get more personnel, more vehicles that need to be serviced, and more fire apparatuses, ambulance, we will eventually need another mechanic as we grow. But do what? We have two now. One mainly does the fire apparatus and EMS vehicle or ambulance vehicles, and the other one does all the other regular vehicles and equipment. So the accumulation of my request results in a decrease in $3.53 an hour at the top out rate. And that results in about $7,000 reduction in personnel requests. So the two positions that I requested an increase of $2, those were removed. So I would ask you all to reconsider that during first reading, because I think those two increases are justified, and I'm going to continue putting them in my budget each year until eventually we get them passed. So, all right, operating cost highlights. I've doubled our salt budget because our new salt shed is going to be constructed this year. Hopefully we'll get it done before the winter season. That's on Toby to get done, but we're kind of waiting for the mass grading. Mass grading's got to get done, and we'll start building the new salt building. So I increased the salt budget. We're not asking for any equipment or vehicles this year. And so our total reduction in operating costs is about $36,000 between our streets, garage, buildings and grounds, and state street aid budget. So not only a reduction in personnel costs, it's also a reduction in operating costs from this current year. Capital transportation project highlights. I've put $5 million in the budget for the construction of Old Lebanon Dirt Road. I happy to see that one getting close to going to construction. Been working on that a while. Right of way's almost complete, and you've probably seen utilities are out there working hard to get the utilities out of the way. I'm estimating we'll start construction in the spring, so that's why I only put $5 million in there. Our total estimated cost for that project is $25 million. $3 million of that can be taken from the stormwater utility, because as you know, we're doing a lot of flood mitigation along that corridor. So I've calculated what all those costs are, and then if you guys are willing, we can pull $3 million, and if Tim's okay with it, pull $3 million from our stormwater utility. Also, I'll mention Golden Bear widening. That's near the Mount Juliet High School. This time next year, I'll be asking to put that construction funding in the budget, because that'll be ready to go the next budget year. New projects that were added to the budget this year was Mount Juliet Road railroad crossing repair. As you're probably aware of, Kenny and I have been working hard to get RJ Corman to repair the tracks there to make that much smoother crossing. So we added that $200,000 in there. $148,000 of that is what RJ Corman expects to spend, and then the rest of that money is going to be we've got to repave the road to make the tie-in smooth, and that includes like traffic control cost and restriping the road. The other new project is Old Lebanon Dirt Road widening phase 2. So this is to get started on engineering on the next phase. Now that the first phase is getting close to construction, I'd like to go ahead and start working on the next phase. Phase 2 would go from Chandler Road to the Davidson County line, which is when we did our Safe Streets for All program, that section was also identified as a high injury network. So just continuing these improvements to the Davidson County line to get the whole corridor in a safe spot. Dana briefly touched on the 10-year capital improvement plan. That's also in your packet. The first page is city funding only, and the next page is grants and city funding combined. Yes, and that's not That's
Is
not all
one-
grant money we've gotten yet. So a lot of our major road widening projects will, once it gets closer to construction, we'll go after grants for those.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the second to grant and city funding, and I'm comparing it. I'm just looking at the total year by year. So 26 million compared to 18 million on the city only. So is the
Yeah.
delta the difference there? The
Yeah, the
grant
delta would
money?
be the difference.
The grants.
Be grants.
Okay.
But your projects like Pleasant Grove Road, East Division Street, Beckwith Road widening, those don't have grant funding associated with them, but I'm assuming we'll get 80% of the construction of those projects covered by grants. We don't go after those grants until they're closer to construction because those grants are very competitive, and you're likely not going to be awarded a grant unless you're ready to go to construction on those. So it's my job to get them shovel ready, and then we'll get them grant applications submitted.
Filling out all the grants.
I do that.
Okay, you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's my relationships with these transportation policy boards and transportation committees that have to go to in Nashville, and creating relationships with those people who control this money. And, so a lot goes into it.
Mayor, you've been very humble. That's why I need to add this. When I first came as city manager 14 years ago, it was typical for a city manager or a mayor or somebody to go to these meetings. And I told Matt this even back when Andy was here. I said, you figure out real quick really where the rubber meets the road, but you need to have the expert in the room. And those are a lot of meetings that Matt attends. And I've told him countless times, him being there is actually best interest of the city. Me being there and just somebody else sitting around a table, that guy's extremely bright. He works extremely hard. And I know the complexities of this grants and the things that goes into all these road projects in the years and just keeping up with it all. Well done to Mr. Matt on that. He does an awesome job of that. And I'm thankful that he does it because I'm telling you, I think because if you look at the projects list that we get and compare it to other cities that are doing it maybe a little bit different way, we're always at the top of that list. And I give the commission credit too, because you put your money where your mouth is. And when you think about public safety and roads and things of that nature, a lot of these projects wouldn't be happening if y'all hadn't stepped up. That puts us on a different caliber on the list. So thank you.
Just kind of highlighting that since it is being recorded and showing that. And I think a couple of years back, we were actually looking at hiring just somebody that's just to write grant or just be able to, send in the grants and actually write the proposal. And you just picked that up. Is that right?
That was the CIO. That was part of his responsibility.
Yeah.
A PIO.
Sorry,
Yeah.
PIO.
Yeah. But Matt is the one that's picked that up and adopted that program. So thank you. I just want to make sure that we threw
There's
that out
some
there.
more difficult grant applications that I do have consultants help with.
Sure.
Like the Central Pike interchange we applied for last year to get some more federal money on that to potentially move the project up sooner. And that was a very complex application, so I use consultants. But most of the time, I try to do it myself.
And the
And
cost
like
that
the
you brought
sidewalk and
in.
greenways, the BPAC kind of helps as well.
Yeah.
The BPAC committee helps write those or
What-
give input on.
What's the total number that you've been able to help bring into the city so far since you've been here? Do you know?
I don't know, but it's.
Can you give me that
it's more
number
than
over the next
10
couple
million,
weeks?
I believe.
Huh?
It's probably between 10 and 15 million so far, but none of those have been these major road widening projects yet because they're not close to construction yet.
$10
It's
million
gonna
is
be
a lot of money.
once we get to those.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But I was looking at your capital improvement plan. I see Central Pike interchange, the 20 million and 31.
Yes, so that's PDOT's 10-year plan calls for the construction.
But aren't we sending them?
We sent 5 million already this year.
Is that supposed to be on the spreadsheet somewhere?
No, this is the next fiscal year. So we sent the 5 million in the current fiscal year we're in. This is for the
Gotcha.
next fiscal year on.
It is in the budget though, because they're pulling money from that account and I have to record those expenditures. So even though we sent them, it's in an LGIP account holding, and as they pull those funds, I have to record those funds that are being
Yeah, I'm
spent.
just curious why it's not shown in FY 26, FY 27, FY 28. It's all 20 million and 30, 31.
It's probably just because
In
from
my
his
vision,
perspective,
yeah, we're not given that until it goes to construction. So, and it's going to construction in 2031. So
Okay.
that's how I thought of it.
So we're not going to get hit with $20 million in 3031 or 2031.
That's when, I don't know.
I don't know how they're going to do that
So
construction.
when they're ready to go to construction, they'll be asking for the rest of the 25 million, which is 20 million.
Okay.
To put towards the construction.
If they hit the timelines and what's it de-escalate over 5 million years?
Yeah.
I mean, 5 million.
Yeah.
5 million a year.
25% each year that it surpasses that 2031.
Okay.
So who knows? It may not be any.
Yeah. Maybe. But yep, I think that's all I had to highlight. But
Good job on the budget.
do what?
Good job on your budget.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Vice Mayor.
All right, so, and I apologize if you went over this. It says other improvements. We went from 536,000 and we dropped it down to 220. It's line item 41, or I'm sorry, 939 on page. It'd be mine is 55.
Buildings and grounds.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what that, I mean, like what was done in 2023 and 2024? Where it hit it?
So this is the annex building that our offices are at.
Okay.
We did a lot of improvements this year to the site. We built a new fence
Yeah.
perimeter around the perimeter. IT used that to upgrade some of
Camera
our
systems.
Yeah. There was a number of things that were listed in the current budget we're in right now.
And what is
They were all
the,
listed out.
The
But-
fence we removed from last year's budget.
Yeah.
okay, and that's why you didn't put anything in there for.
We don't
for
have
budget.
nobody needed any more improvements to the site. We got it all done this year, so we're not asking for any.
So did we stay in their
additional-
budget or did we just, I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
We should have been
Yeah.
under budget.
Yeah, that's what I was just wanting to point out. Okay,
You're talking about this current fiscal year, yeah?
correct. Yeah, yeah. So when we're,
Like
So if you
projected
look-
current year?
yeah, for the current year, you're
Okay,
at 220,000 right now.
Yeah, we're expected to spend, I think, like 100,000 less than what was budgeted. I think some of them, I'm not in full control of this because there's fire and there's building codes and
Yeah.
IT's done some improvements. So I don't know what didn't get done that was in there, but it's no longer needed, whatever it was.
Okay. And I think this is some of the questions that, Commissioner Effner was talking about where obviously we can't use a glass ball here to be able to hit us there. But I mean, these are the things that it'd be really helpful, if we meet halfway through the year, right? And let's say we've got $250,000 budget, but we've, I think, Chief Mullins had talked about it, that he waited until like towards the end of the year and then he uses all of his budget because it's, again, trying to be reactive versus proactive. And I'm not saying nothing bad about it. It works for their department. But I'm just saying, I think as every department comes up here tonight, again, it's always great to put a little fluff in there because we can't predict the future. But again, it's just great you guys are giving money back to the to the actual general fund. But but still, it helps us out to be able to hit these numbers for moving into 2025 and 2026. So again, just wanted to point that out there. But thank you, thank you guys.
Is that it? Thank you, guys.
Utilities. Stormwater just took a $3 million hit, I hear.
Not approved.
I think it was donated, wasn't it?
We'd like to add that we do participate with dispatch on our own calls, holidays. So just we'll add it to the request from police and fire. they do assist us also after hours.
How does that work?
We have an on-call phone. And so if you look around town, you'll see signs posted. We have about 55 signs throughout the neighborhoods that have a phone number to call Public Works during the day and then to call dispatch after hours and holidays. But they're, I don't know, they're small signs, 6x12 signs that
Yeah.
posted, like we have 55 around the city. And that's been our method for decades. So
That's great.
I know when I was a service guy, you get a call 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So one of our friendly dispatchers giving you an address to go take care of business.
It's amazing.
Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll go through our request of stormwater and sewer. The first one is to transfer a maintenance operator from highways and streets to operate the sweeper truck for stormwater. So in our permit, we have that we do street sweeping to keep the storm drains clean, curbs and gutters. So we looked at that as an opportunity to take that person from streets, from the general fund, and add them to our enterprise fund of stormwater. So that was a request on that. The next is a reclassification of the civil plans reviewer to the civil plans reviewer and floodplain manager. We currently technically don't have a floodplain manager. That was, my understanding, was operated through IT. I think Rob was taking care of that at some point, but I don't think he still has the credentials to do that. So our civil plans reviewer does have the credentials to be the floodplain manager. So I'd like to add that to that title. If you want to discuss some cost, I've got that information of what that looks like.
Is there any cost savings there? I mean, did we use to sub that out? Or
Well, the
something?
cost savings would be one individual doing the job of two.
Okay.
So we're adding $22,860 for the top pay of the scale that this individual would not be at as of yet. But that would be the extra cost versus another employee doing the same job. The next one is a reclassification of the stormwater manager to a deputy utility director. As we grow, as I age, I'm investing in our stormwater manager, bring him in to speed on the sewer side of the utility. He knows his craft well on the stormwater side and is applying those skills into the sewer side. So that would be your deputy utility director that we do not have right now. That would be an annual increase once topped out of roughly $14,000. The next item is a transfer of 2 road inspectors from the general fund to stormwater. The reason is we discovered that road inspectors, sometimes over 50% of their job is to inspect the installation of stormwater pipe in new developments. So we looked at that as say, okay, we can justify bringing them from the general fund over to the enterprise fund of the stormwater utility. Then we're asking for in stormwater equipment. As we grow that department on the maintenance side, we do not have a mini excavator, skid steer, or mini loader. The mini loader fits into some tight spots. We don't have any of that equipment. We've been sharing that from the sewer side. So they don't have their own, along with a trailer to haul that. We're also asking for a new street sweeper. I don't have the exact date and age of the existing one, but it stays on the road every day, going back to the transfer of the operator to the street sweeper. But I think that sweeper's been around since maybe 2015, 2016.
Good job, man. Appreciate it being out.
And we're looking forward to, stepping up our game on that as far as equipment goes. We also have in the budget a compact street sweeper. We've been utilizing the one from Parks, which has not been real efficient. This could be used on our greenways. This could be used also on our city properties, any tight areas. I know some of the new developments now even have alleys. I think in the Winfield subdivision, they even have alleys that have storm drains. So that would be used for that. So the next one is reclassification of utility field manager to utility inspection manager. So what this would do currently is eliminate 2 other field manager positions. One has already happened by default on what Matt has done in bringing our field manager road inspector over to his department. What this would do is we would have one field manager and they would be responsible for overseeing the road inspection, sewer line inspection, stormwater pipe inspection, because we've got one other person that will be retiring in the near future. And so this would just bring everybody under one manager instead of having 3 individuals. I don't have the exact cost savings on that, but I could work with Dana and figure that out over time, what that looks like. What else? I'm also requesting 4 utility 2 positions. Actually, Gina and I got together, and it would be really a operator 1, but like a level 5 pay grade. And if we can get somebody in at the entry level pay, we can do that also. The reason for that request is on our pump stations. We're at 40 pump stations right now, and I would project in the next 24 months, we would have another 10 online, which would bring us up to 50 pump stations. Pump stations back when I was a service guy was a switch on, switch off. Now you've got control panels that control float patterns, all the diagnostics, and it's more complicated now, screens. I know I tried to help the guys out. I don't know, last year, one time when the stations was going off, I thought, hey, I'll catch it when I go home, turn it off. I had to call the foreman over the pump stations. I had to go through 3 screen panels to get to just turning off the alarm for a low level situation. So I realized at that point is we have groups of guys that go out on the house call side, which is the grinder pumps, in which we're around 4,000 plus right now. Well, when they go on call, just like tonight, then they're not familiar with the pump stations. We had an incident last night where NES was without power on our west side of town, and our guys had to go out. Well, we were on communications with each other just because of the guy that was on call was not familiar with pump stations. So what I want to do is separate house call guys to pump station guys. Currently, we have 11 operators right now. We do have 2 openings because we've just promoted one of the utility operators over to the road inspection side because of the loss of Matt's street guy. And so that would bring us up to a total of 17 operators, including the foreman and the manager of the department. So we would be running our 200 miles of sewer line and our 4,000 grinder pumps and our 50 pump stations with 17 operators. But what we would do is split up the department and focus solely. Half the department would be focused on the pump stations and half the department would be focused on the duties of the grinder pumps and the gravity sewer lines. So that's the purpose of that, of adding the 4. So we would still be running the department with 17 people.
Sorry, Mayor. So if you split that up, now we got to have managers for those departments. That's going to be an additional cost, right?
No, because we have a foreman that in this current budget, can oversee the pump stations as he's doing right now. Because we're going to go through a training curve with the new people. I'm not planning on doing the final split until January. So if we receive the 4 operators in this budget, we get them trained and up to speed, and then in January we do the split. Now, what I would probably propose in the next budget would to give that foreman a pay increase, reclassification for his job.
Yeah, because I just think about this in the service world where we're at today, right? Prime example, you take somebody that's been out in the field, they put them in office and in a manager role, they lose all of that new technology. They lose all of that skill. Listen,
Guilty.
me too.
Guilty.
I was just talking about it today on on a 1,200-ton centrifugal chiller. I lost a little bit of my edge. But at the same time, it's that cross training, which I'm a big fan of, because same thing with these department heads. We heard it tonight where there's a police officer was able to get cross trained in some first aid response, was able to be on the scene faster than the EMTs. So my whole thought process, it kind of be kind of dangerous if we've got so much equipment out there that we start dividing up that, especially with my background and your background, it's dangerous. And I think better opportunities, if we're going to start looking at cross-training our teams, that's when we can start justifying that, hey, now Bob, as an example, is now able to be cross-trained in doing residential and commercial, and that's going to be justifying why we need to give him a $2 bump versus keeping Bob in residential. And then when we do have an emergency, like last night with lost power, that was part of me also, then it helps out on the load, it helps out on the overtime, helps out on the cross training, and you're still having coverage, and you got backup when guys and gals that are on, vacation emergencies or dark spots. Not trying to tell you how to run your department. I'm just thinking.
Let me add to this.
Me and you.
So, without boring you with the little details,
I understand.
It's still big. So right now, the person that's on call this week will be the backup for next week. Well, what this plan would do when we split the department is there will be 2 guys on call every week instead of 1, but they will be each other's backup. So they'll already be in the field, and then they will be the backup. Then they get the relief the next week of not having to be the backup.
Yeah.
So we would continually have a fresh 2 operators every week instead of 1 that may have had a strenuous week before and still has to continue on the backup side.
Yeah.
So
I'm just looking out just because this is a new department. You guys got great revenue coming in, and we start putting managers in there, then we lose talent. But we've got so much overhead on managers and not enough boots on the ground, which is what the police has done a really good job at keeping the boots on the ground and not, I don't want to say keeping folks down in positions, but in reality, we're hiring for service because that's what our city does. We're all in service, whether it's customer service or actually turning wrenches, but that's what we got to do.
Is both.
Well, exactly. Yeah. You're dealing with
so
both.
What we have right now, we have 1 manager of the sewer department and 1 foreman.
Okay.
And then this would bring us up to 17 people. Again, next budget, I would be asking for a reclassification of the foreman. And I still think we can still operate with that level of service, with that level of management.
Gotcha.
Because I'm still very active. I can't let go.
I know. Yeah, I get it. Hey, I'm just asking questions just because.
You have all the reasons to ask.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any explanations? Okay.
Where is am I jumping the gun, or is it in here? Is it not in here? The sewer that we had the new line from Lebanon Road.
I've got it right here.
Where's it at on here?
It is the land purchase.
It's on page 75.
Land is 750,000 as
So
well.
78,
Okay.
Yes.
page 78.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 78 at 910, 412, 522, 11, 910. That's the land. It's 750,000.
I still don't see it.
78. Up to 78.
Oh, I thought I was on 78. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. And then is that, I think when they engineering and
Yes, engineering is on page 81 at the very bottom.
that's for that line, right?
No, I'm sorry, that's not it. That's the Golden Bear. Apologize.
What's the name of the project?
Okay, so it's on page 82 at the bottom. It's Golden Bear Gateway Regional Pump Station.
I saw that. I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yes. So we've got 768,000 for engineering, and then we've added another 250,000 for easement acquisitions throughout the area.
And then the rest of that will be in next year's budget, right?
Well, if this is approved, we would have land acquisition, purchase, easements, and engineering in this budget. We could go to construction next budget on approval, is what that could look like.
Yeah, I had written down, I was thinking it was, well, I thought I had written down, 18 months and then construction. And
Right.
it
We
would
could purchase land, engineering, and be ready to go for construction next budget.
It would take 2 point, I don't know why I put 2.2 years, but two years, 26 months, whatever.
I would build in 2 years of construction. Sometimes it doesn't take that long. The great news is we would be doing most of the work in the existing right of way. So that would help.
Sure.
That would help with that.
So I had a quick question. Line, I guess it's still on page 76. So if we can go down to page 76. Line 251 and 255. Let's just start off with 251. Ms. Dana, if you can help me out on that one. I think that may be an error.
I'm sorry, what page?
76.
76, 251,
Yeah,
the mental, dental, and veterinary.
yeah. For sewer? Is that for sewer?
There's nothing budgeted on that line, and it was only $500 last year.
I'm just trying to figure out where the
It's not-
$500
it's not
went for veterinary.
It's not veterinary. It's for employees, but it's just because it's all lumped in that line.
What is our employees getting ticks or something? They're
No,
having to go to
no.
the vets? It
We
just
want
don't
a
make.
sewer monkey.
I was gonna say, I'm
Yeah.
like, what kind of animal do we got in sewer? I didn't make sense.
Yeah, we want a sewer monkey.
Okay, and
No,
okay, so that's just a typo.
no, it's just
That's real?
That's the title of that line, and it's not just for dogs.
Okay.
And
Object
people
code
has that title in it.
in our software.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go on down, I guess. Sorry, I had it circled. I thought it was pretty neat. 255. So the data I'm sorry. Yeah, so the data processing services. So is this for that new software or is this something I was missing there? Because it jumped up from 82,000 now up to 190,000 for the budget and we're only at 78. So is this that fluff or is this, what am I missing here?
Oh, that's, I'm sorry, that was my utility billing software. So I had budgeted that last year, but I don't think we're going to get to it. We're still in the process of reviewing software. And because it's actually software, I've moved it down to capital this year. So I rolled the 100,000. I think I had 115. I decreased it to 100, then put it in computer software this year under capital. And
So
we're still in the process of trying to get an RFP out for that. We're looking at different systems to see what we can use, but we need to upgrade our billing system according to IT. It's a dinosaur. And so it's.
yeah, because I thought that was the whole thing is that we were going to do that. Was that in 2022 though?
No, that was last year.
Oh, it was like,
Yeah,
okay.
it was last year.
Sorry. Okay. And then the other one, which is, let's see here, is 70K for, I didn't push it back up there for,
211 postage.
yeah, for postage and rental. So is that rental?
It's
Is that for?
it's billing. It's mailing our sewer bills out.
And P.O. Box.
Yeah, if we had.
What's
yeah,
the
if we had a
rental?
PO box.
P.O. Box.
Also, we rent a PO box?
Mhm. It's where all of our payments are mailed to.
Gotcha. Okay,
But
so,
the majority of that is for billing.
Is there any way we can look at maybe like, is there any discounts to go electronic these days or no?
We do. We have a system called Invoice Cloud, and all of our bills are uploaded to that system, but it's up to the citizens to decide if they want electronic bills or not. They have to pick that on there. We let them know about it, but
Wouldn't that be a pass through though? I mean, it seems like that's what I get stuck with. If I choose paper, I get stuck picking up my own bill for the postage. Can we not look at that? It's $70,000 savings. Sounds like.
well, that's in your rate. It would be kind of in your sewer rate. So we could.
I mean, I hate to keep.
We don't have an extra charge for if you want an electronic bill. We could.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, but typically if you go
Mail
paper,
bill.
you know what I mean? But if you go paper, then they always flip back the bill back to the customer. At least that's how all my bills, I see it. I mean, I'm still the same guy that gets papers. You know what I mean? Just because I like to see the bill, right? You know, I mean, but I mean, I'll pay the $2. That's what it costs me. So, or whatever the total is. I just didn't know because I seen that. I didn't know if that was an opportunity for savings that we could be looking at with the new software. So that's all I had for that. So thank you. You don't? Okay.
Right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
One thing I'll mention is the personnel request that Tim's asking for to move some of the employees from the general fund into a utility. That will further reduce my personnel cost by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, I think it's actually already in there.
Oh, it's already
calculated in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the total? Do you know?
Oh, I don't have it.
I was
Hundreds
saying
of
it's
thou-
beyond the 7,000 savings I said earlier. So
And Mayor, can I add a little bit to that? I appreciate Tim working because what we did, we studied other cities and where some of these positions should be coming from is how we realized it would save the general fund money by moving those, for example, street sweeper. That position had fallen under MAT before. And when you think of the things that go into your stormwater system or your sewer system or whatever, it just made sense. So kudos to you guys for thinking outside the box and working with us on that. It just made
Makes
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
If you leave it on the street, it's going to wind up the storm.
That's right.
Too bad we can't do that for one dispatcher, huh? I mean, take it out of their fund in order to help justify that. I'm serious. I mean, if,
Neighboring city does that.
is it?
That's how we found out about this. Lebanon does that.
Yeah. Thank you guys for looking at every stone. I mean, these are great examples. So, I mean, but if our neighboring cities do that and we've got a nice reserve in your butt, I mean, I'm not trying to dwindle yours down, but in reality, if we're using it as a service and that can help justify first responders as well as on-call staff and everything else, that's what the 55 signs are out there. Is that an opportunity we should be looking at to be able to help? Because right now we're going from 2 dispatchers down to 1 is what is projected.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that we can justify legally to be able to help, you know, to be able to get that second?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not breaking any rules. I mean, I think we may need to ask the attorney about it, but I mean, if it's in your budget and you cannot use anything except for sewer, you know, that's in your budget, right? I mean, it cannot justify anywhere else. Or stormwater
utility and
Sorry.
sewer utility. They're two
Correct.
separate utilities, but yeah.
Yeah, but it has to stay within his budget.
Yeah,
It
it's an
cannot.
enterprise fund. So yeah. it
Correct.
has to stay.
So that could justify for that one, at least one employee for that,
All after hours dispatching comes from our dispatch.
which will be one employee, right? Or it could be 2 because you guys technically have second and third shift. You guys are 24 hours, 7-day a week service,
Yes, correct.
which could justify for 2. What do you think?
If it helps, I'm in. I mean, we heard, if we've understood that does happen in other cities. That's what got me to looking into, okay, can we move these people here? Then we got with Kenny and we had a discussion. That's kind of how it transposed.
So can we have legal and city manager look into that and see if we can be able to justify 2 allocations from that? And that way, that takes some of the burden off the police because we are using them. You know, it's all public. But then we can also then justify for that other position for the mental health role and then be able to help that out. So that'd be great.
I don't have any problem with that. But as
As long as it's legal.
Yeah, that's all I care about. It has to be on the up and up.
And you got all your notes?
Yes.
I see a finger in the air. Is that a question? Okay, sorry. I didn't know that was a question. Hey, no,
No questions from the
She's
crowd.
taking notes too.
yeah,
She's my backup.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for the partnership.
Thank you, guys. Mr. Martin, you're up next.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you guys for a long night and well done by all the department heads. We're blessed. We have a lot of wonderful people here, and unfortunately, like a lot of other cities, we got to make tough decisions. And Commissioner Milady had sent us some notes. So I feel like I should read this particular note since this particular position answers directly to the City Hall and the City Manager position. Commissioner Milady had stated, City PO, if this position eliminated, who is going to do the promoting of our city events, not to mention social media videos. The videos are very popular and draw attention to city-related functions. No one else has the media personality and voice to match. And of course, that's in reference to our public information officer. And I'll start by saying that I take full responsibility for some of the recommendations. Everybody here is trying to be a good steward. I feel like it's my ultimate responsibility and my duty via my oath to look for opportunities. Doesn't mean necessarily that I'm always most excited about it or I'm even recommending. It's just like, these are things we could do if we needed to save resources. Our PO has done exactly what we've asked him. He's done a wonderful job. He's a wonderful human being. I had to have the conversation with him myself. I understand the magnitude of that, and I take that most seriously. And so I understand the concerns of the commission, and in particular, Commissioner Related, since I read her note. I'll turn most of it over to Miss Dana, but I felt like I needed to explain that. One of the things in particular, I didn't put any pay increases in any department's budget, and in particular, City Hall or finance and things of that nature, because I felt like it'd be unfair for me to include those in my budget when I was asking other department heads to take that out. So I appreciate everything that you all consider and the serious decisions you have to make. One of the most important things we do, like you said, is public safety and taking care of our citizens and quality of life. And I'd be remiss if I didn't do this, but we've got a very special person here tonight that wanted to be with us, wanted to be with his family. And he's back there on the back row. And his name's Mr. Marty Potts. And I know everybody in here has a heavy heart for Mr. Marty, and none more than his. But he's been here. He wanted to be here. We saw him earlier. And a big part of our budget, I want to give Marty in particular a shout out. Not just because of what he's dealing with, but I think everybody will agree. Mount Juliet would not look like it is today, which when you think of it, I think the chiefs would tell you the same thing. Everybody does wonderful. But when we first started City Beautiful program, it was one kind of thing you go, what does that do? Right? And you really can't put sort of a definition on what it does because it's really unlimited. It's anything that a commissioner or resident calls it. Sometimes other departments are just too busy to do. One thing I'll point out, and it's a little bit graphic, but rodents, any type of rodents, animals, carcasses, you name it, that man back there has done it. We've done it together, so I know he does it and his team does it. And I think that provides another level of public safety for our community and our marketing because if you think about it, if you come to Mount Juliet, I feel like, in all honesty, because of y'all supporting that program, it's made a difference in our level of crime prevention. It makes a tremendous difference. People see it, our citizens talk about it, and I think they deserve it. And quality of life, and when you think of home ownership, property values, things of that nature, it's probably one of the most forward-thinking things beyond all the other essential things that we do that was sort of outside the box that this commission has done. And I can't thank you enough for it. And I want to give it, like I said, a special shout out because the man is here tonight and for what he's endured. And y'all always mention that you're great about that, but a lot of what you see in here is that. When I first came into city manager, we were spending, actually as ECD director, we were spending $85,000 a year on what was referred to as marketing. And I got to looking into that, and it really was mainly magazine ads, like in the Nashville Business Journal, places like that. And even though they have value, when you looked at what some other cities were spending, I just felt like it was money wasted. And so when we pitched this idea of the City Beautiful, that's where the majority of the money you see in the budget goes to. It's things that I could list a grocery list, but I just felt like I owed him that. I felt like I owed our PIO that. But and I'll turn it over to Miss Dana. But I want to give Marty in particular a big shout out because he is absolutely phenomenal, and his heart and every bit of his being is about this city. And Marty, we love you and we appreciate you for everything that you do. And that goes for every department head. But Marty answers directly to me, and I just felt like he deserved that.
Hey, Kenny, listen, like you actually just met up with our HOA president for Hickory Hills a couple weeks back. Marty was there. And, not that we need to, make it all just, I don't know what that kumbaya stuff is, but anyways, but no, I'm gonna
Right.
tell you right now, from these developers that continuously leave their advertisement signs on the side of the road, to our realtors, to our, let's just say, the people trying to sell me the tree service, all that stuff, and concrete work, blacktop work, just makes our city look trashy. It's a poor decision for these folks. I even make those calls. I try and pick them up myself, but it just goes to show the fact that, City Beautiful is very important for our city, and as gentlemen like Marty, that take pride. I mean, again, we're out there. He's out there cleaning up a mess that a contractor should be doing, what the contractor was there doing. I'm like, Marty, leave it for the contractor. You know what I mean? But it's just getting it done, going the extra mile. So thank you, Marty, for being here tonight. And thanks for letting me give you a big hug earlier. So appreciate you. And I'm just glad to be part of your guys' family here. You guys have been here for a long time, and I've only been here for, I think, 12 years. So just glad you guys welcome me. But thank you, Marty, for everything.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Dana.
I don't have anything else, but I would like to go back to something that Commissioner Hefner said. If I was quoted in the paper, I haven't talked to anybody recently, but I am asked by reporters about the budget at the end of every year. So if I was quoted in the Tennessean, then I probably did say that. I respond via email. I'm very conscious of what I say, so I hope that whatever I was quoted as saying isn't incorrect. And also, I don't take tax increases lightly. I don't take this budget lightly. I'm given the budget by the departments, and it's my responsibility to present a budget that has the revenue to cover what they are asking for. My projections may be off. I don't have a crystal ball, but to say that we were to the good, we spent down reserves $20 million. That's not to the good. Okay, but for me, you asked me why I didn't propose a tax increase last year. We had $40 million in reserves. So I didn't feel it would have been responsible. I am sensitive to asking for a tax increase, especially during an election year. It's never popular. Tax increases are never popular anyway. I'm very sensitive to that. I respect that the citizens are going to have to pay for that. So I don't put those numbers in there lightly. So I have to put a revenue and present a budget that is fiscally responsible. The departments give me their budgets, and then I have to look at what they've put in and present enough revenue to cover that. So please understand that I don't put these numbers in lightly. I care about our employees. I care about our citizens. I don't want to overcharge anybody. So I apologize for the response that I said I didn't talk to anybody, because I thought you meant currently. I haven't talked to anybody currently. So I understand that this is not an easy thing. It's never popular, but it's my responsibility to present a fiscally responsible budget so that the comptroller approves it and the city runs efficiently. So please understand that when I look at these, I don't take this lightly. That's all I have.
Any other questions on the executive department budget? Oh, Commissioner Hefner.
Yeah, I want to talk about we talk about the position, not the individual.
Yes, sir.
So to me, public information officer is the face of the city. He's our sales guy or girl. They're the one that's out there running the videos, promoting the city, which is providing visibility to the beautiful city that we are.
Yes.
To potential CEOs. They're looking to move their businesses here potentially. They're promoting to residents. I mean, that's what they do, and it's needed. If we don't have somebody that's out there doing that, that's promoting the city, then we're just going to be like everybody else. So I think it's a critical position. I think it's one that needs to stay in the budget. That's my 2 cents.
Yes, sir.
But it's the face of the city, and he's in this. Justin's done an extremely great job. I've said this publicly. I'll say it again. Probably one of the best decisions besides the LPRs that the city ever done was hire that gentleman back there.
Yes, sir.
He's done an exceptional job. So the 200 and some odd employees that we have, just wondering why that position is being cut out.
Yes.
But you don't have to answer that. It's rhetorical. So, but my point is the PIO office needs to stay in the budget because I think it's a critical position. Again, that's going to bring visibility to future corporate relocations, to future residents. So that's my 2 cents. Promoting our local businesses, which, we rely on those tax dollars. So
Yes.
I think it's a critical position. I think he's done a phenomenal job. So I hope in light of, his position being requested to be eliminated, I hope that doesn't discourage him to, if it stays in the budget, I hope he continues to stay.
Yes, sir.
But that's obviously up to you.
And Mayor, I respect that immensely. And like I said, I've talked to each of these individuals and I totally understand the magnitude of making such a recommendation like that. I just was trying to be a good steward and just look for potentials within the budget, but I respect the commission immensely and whatever you ultimately decide, of course, I'm going to support 110%. And that's all it was. We're just in a unique position this year. And I want to show that I was trying to be a good steward, even though you don't necessarily like having to make some of the recommendations you make. And thank you.
When we added it, I mean, we added the responsibility of getting involved with grant writing.
Yes, sir.
And to take some of that burden off of Matt White, who's running Public Works, right? I don't
Yes,
know how
sir.
much time he has in the day to run Public Works, the enormous organization that is, plus write grants.
Yes, sir.
So part of my justification for a couple of years ago when we had that position was there would be some cross training there and he could help.
And you're right. And Matt, because it's so specialized in the relationships he builds, you're exactly
Yep.
right. Ms. Nate, a lot of that grant writing got overcame internally through, I think it was a new software program, if I remember correctly. That helped a lot. But that's why a lot of times, if something goes away, we'll add something back to somebody else's workload. So you're exactly right. I just wanted to.
We need to cross train somebody anyways, because God forbid something happens to Matt. He's the only one that's writing grants.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
who do we have as backup to do that? We don't want to source that out. That's going to cost money.
Absolutely. Yes.
So.
Commissioner Giles?
Yeah, and I also want to mention, Commissioner, that the BPAC assists and helps in a lot of the grant writing, and we have people on the BPAC who have experience with that. And that was one of the things when the BPAC was formed in 2013, was to make sure that we had somebody on there. William Anderson was on there at first. He had to get off because of his work, but he's helped, and he would come in. We've had people come in who would also assist and do that. So that's, we do. Of course, he's the main one. He knows a lot of it, but we write letters and we do stuff when we need to. So.
Can I just make one more comment? too?
Yes, ma'am.
So I like having the workshop because it gives you guys, exposure to the budget. If there are changes that you would like to see, since there's no voting here, but I would love to have the budget as close to what you guys are in favor of on first reading, just
That's what
so
I.
there's not a lot of changes. So if you could give feedback to Kenny and maybe let him know what you're thinking, and then if he can kind of come to a consensus, it helps me kind of solidify the budget. So if there's things that you want back in and then there's enough of you that are in favor of that, then we can go ahead and make that change without having to amend the budget at first reading. I know there will be some, but
Agree.
the feedback helps.
All right. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just, and I don't know if this is the right time because we're in section 14, which is, I think is the last one. So, I guess it's going to go back to our city manager. So the request, for staff, attorney, can you go into detail? Cause I know that we just, talked about this where I think, we just sent an employee to school to get fully trained on something for the
Yeah.
attorney.
Yes.
Can you go into some detail on this request here?
Yes, I can. When we originally made the transition from a firm, I guess is a contractual services attorney, to a full-time city attorney, which I think's been value added, and thank each of you for supporting that. There was talk at that time of adding, I guess you'd call it a assistant attorney or a deputy. In this case, it'd be just called assistant attorney or, and then a paralegal. One of those, I'm proud to say that we spent a few bucks when we talk about cross training and actually hired an internal employee to send to the paralegal school, which saved us a whole nother body and a whole nother benefits package. And I spoke with the city attorney, and even though she wanted to have this position mainly, I just felt like this wasn't the year for it, and that we should wait an additional year and just see where we're at next year. I know it adds a lot of extra work. I get that. And if we have to stay over after hours to do that, then we can do that.
Are we still using another firm as a backup for her? Because like obviously she's away this week, right?
Yes.
And a little bit last week. So are we using another firm or is it, how's that working?
Yeah, through our current situation, it's a little unique. I'll let Dana speak to that. But if in emergencies, because I'm very cheap and I'd hate to have to pay another attorney because they're very expensive per hour, unless there's an absolute need, at least for me and staff, we do not call. But there are some unique situations that Ms. Dana can speak to more than I can. But
There are some cases that are outstanding that Gino is still responsible for until Sam can take it over. She just has not, she has a lot on her plate. So we do have contractual services that are set aside for if we have to reach out to another firm.
Okay. So that's good that we're still utilizing, an existing attorney that is familiar with our city and so forth, right?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And that way we've got that backup. That's why I feel comfortable. Then if we need to wait, we can definitely wait.
Okay. So, okay, that's great. And just so I'm clear, just because I'm trying to keep up with this last one. So, and for those breakdowns, is that 23 in the packet? Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Yes, you're talking about page 23?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. for
Is
city
it
attorney?
23? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. There was one more question. I apologize. All right. I'll just check in with you guys tomorrow because I didn't write it down. I know I had it in here, but it may be on another note in here.
Yeah, if you all think of anything, just
Yep.
call, send an email, and we'll dig it up for you. You can answer.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. There's nothing else. The next item on here is item 16, adjournment. Without objection, we're adjourned.